who's been leading the transformation. So we're starting the third annual Global Chamber Summit. It sounds like we're being recorded now, so that's great. I have the distinct pleasure as founder and CEO of Global Chamber to introduce Dr. Sanjeev Kagram. Thunderbird has been an inspiration for us. It was a key aspect of me coming up with the idea of Global Chamber. I thought, wow, what an amazing school that is basically global and unstoppable. Students from all over the world learning about trade and being more successful with trade. I just thought it would be kind of cool to have an organization that built off the values of Thunderbird. Unfortunately, there were a few struggles along the way. And the good news was that Dr. Sanjeev Kagram became involved and has created an amazing transformation from some struggling days, 5, 6 years ago, to now significant growth, 10x growth in students and solid economic footprint. Dr. Kagram, thank you for kicking us off. We really appreciate everything that you do.
So much, Doug. How about a round of applause? Another one for Doug Brunke. If anyone embodies global and unstoppable, that's that guy. Well, welcome everyone. As Doug said, my name is Dr. Sanjeev Kagram. I have the great honor and privilege of being the Director General and Dean of the Thunderbird School of Global Management. I'm going to say a few words, but I want to start off by saying, exactly building on what Doug said, the Global Chamber was incubated, right, Doug, back at the old campus at the Thunderbird Air Force Base. And as we moved downtown and we built this incredible, magnificent facility, our new global headquarters, digital global headquarters here in downtown Phoenix, the Global Chamber, there was no question, had to be central to it because we are very much partners in this endeavor to bring the world together. And certainly in these complex times where we know that, the forces that want to tear us apart are on the ascendance rather than the ones that want to bring us together. The school was founded 77 years ago, as you all probably know, by Thunderbird Air Force pilots after the Great War of the 20th century. And those Thunderbird Air Force pilots that set up Thunderbird had a great vision. And that vision was that borders frequented by trade and diplomacy seldom need soldiers. Borders frequented by trade and diplomacy seldom need soldiers. And as I was saying to some friends in the audience, it's been 6 years since I was announced on the dirt underneath this global headquarters, just under 6 years, April 8th, 2018. And I've been to 123 countries in that almost 6 years. And the sad part, and I will quickly, because everyone knows me as an internal optimist possibilist, is that around the world, as I've traveled, as I said, we're in a place where those who want to tear us apart rather than bring us together have been on the ascendant. Climate change, of course, has accelerated, but at the same time, we've had the incredible forces of the fourth industrial revolution and semiconductors, of course, central to that. And as we rebuild Thunderbird to be the most global and digital leadership and management school in the world, we're very proud that we reclaimed the #1 ranking in international trade by QS World University Rankings in 2023, which brought us back to our beginnings. Because if we have more global business, if we have more trade, if we have more diplomacy, if we have more cultural understanding, if we have more folks with global mindsets, like all of you, like all of our great students, faculty, staff, alumni around the world, our incredible 50,000 alumni in over 140 countries, 2 million, 3 million people that we've touched around the world, then the future of the world truly can be what it should be. We can advance what our vision at Thunderbird is, which is to advance sustainable and equitable prosperity and peace worldwide. And that's really why we're so honored to be partners and host of the Global Chamber's headquarters here, along with our headquarters, and this incredible now 3rd annual Global Chamber Summit on Semiconductors. I do want to say that while we were founded by Thunderbird Air Force pilots back in 1946, and now we're a 77-year-old institution with a lot of incredible history and traditions, we gratitude to the Native American peoples and traditions on which Thunderbird is based. The Thunderbird is a mythological origin in many Native American tribes, and for many Native Americans, it is a creature that delights in defeating forces of evil through light and goodness. And so I'd like to start the next part with a benediction. The Thunderbird School of Global Management acknowledges that the school is located on the ancestral lands of the Akimel Udan, and further acknowledges that Arizona is home to 22 tribal nations that comprise 27% of Arizona's total land base. Thunderbird recognizes the sovereignty of these nations and seeks to foster an environment of success and possibility for Native American students, communities, and peoples. In keeping with the design aspirations of the new American University, with our values at Thunderbird, which are embodied in 3 core principles, we oppose all forms of corruption and exploitation, we respect the rights and dignity of all people, and we advance sustainable and equitable prosperity worldwide, including locally. In keeping with these aspirations and values, we seek to embrace our place, connect with tribal communities, enable the success of every single individual in our communities, especially our tribal communities. I want to acknowledge there are many incredible people here in the physical room, tremendous numbers around the world. Doug sure knows how to throw a party, always, and I love coming to them. Mayor Gallego will soon join us. We're so grateful to her. We wouldn't be here, Thunderbird downtown, without the great partnership with the city of Phoenix, contributing $13.5 million to this incredible facility. Her and the leadership of Phoenix and Arizona recognizing that Thunderbird is this unique gem, this global leadership and management school that if in downtown, and I see my great friend Rita Marco over there, glad to have you here, Rita, that Thunderbird could help globalize the city of Phoenix and advance the vision of Mayor Gallego of being the city of the future. And that's very much our commitment. We want to thank our GPEC leadership in the area, Representatives Thomas Maynard, Senior Vice President of Business Development and Senior Vice President of Business Development, and Casey Gilchrist, Senior Director, International Business Development. I think Kelly's here. Do I see Kelly? Honorary Consul General of Japan. He's not yet here, but we want to thank him anyway. Many other honorary consul generals and consul generals. We want to thank the Consulate of Japan in LA for their support of the event, including our great alum, Brian Sword. And there are many others, our students, our faculty, our staff, all who make this possible. Particular shout out to our team in the back there, Ghazal Khurshidi and Jacqueline, who make everything possible for me as the dean. We really want to thank them, please. Our events coordinator, Duis Shallcross. But let me then come back to where we are. As I've traveled around the world, I just came back, and I want to say also thank you to Helen Wu, who's our executive director of partnerships. We here at Thunderbird have partnerships with the semiconductor industry all over the world. Obviously, the massive elephant is, of course, TSMC, our great colleagues and partners at Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. We launched this past year a massive new initiative with partners in Taiwan called Taiwan Going Global. We've done several programs there. We're partners with TSMC to help them do better and be even more successful here in Arizona. Obviously, many that they just launched in Japan, soon to be in Germany, but it's not just TSMC. We're working with Micron. We're working with a new semiconductor company that just got announced by the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. We know what's happening in India, all over the place. So this is an incredibly exciting time. I was just teaching in a national security program, actually, in the kingdom, and we were talking about this critical importance of semiconductors, not only for the global economy, but for global security. And if anyone's flown into Taiwan recently, you'll know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. So this is so much more than about technology. This is so much more than even about the global economy. This is about the future of our world and planet. There's so much riding on this set of dynamics. And so to have this summit here today, it makes us very proud. Let me then just say that while you're enjoying this incredible Haas Digital Global Forum, This is the marquee location here in our global headquarters. This is a special global headquarters because as you walk up the 5 floors, you go back in Thunderbird and global history. Every floor, this floor is, going out into the future, the 4th industrial revolution, the 5th wave of innovation. We're going out towards the Thunderbird Academy of Intergalactic Leadership here. But then as you go up the 5 floors, you go back in Thunderbird and global history. Every floor is 15 years of our history. Every 2 floors are connected by a regional heritage lounge, Africa and the Middle East, Asia, Latin America. And then, of course, you get to the most important place, the start of the school, which is in the Dean's Suite. I welcome you to go up there because you'll get to see Lieutenant General Yunt's desk, the founder of Thunderbird. But right across from there, there's the Thunderbird Pub. So not only do we like to work hard and make a difference in the world, right, Doug? We like to have fun. So we hope that you'll all go up there and have some fun after this great summit. Welcome again. We couldn't be more honored. The future is bright despite all the challenges. This set of issues around semiconductors, as I said, is not just about technology. It's not just about innovation. It's not just about the economy. It is about peace and the future of our world and planet. So thank you all for being here, bringing your wisdom and expertise. And thank you again to Doug and the Global Chamber and all our partners. We are all global and unstoppable. Thank you.
Our 2 hosts here at the Semiconductor Summit are Thunderbird and Global Chamber Phoenix. So our headquarters is down the hall, global headquarters, but the Phoenix chapter is one of 525 chapters in the US. Our advisory board chair is Jeffrey Garza Walker. Jeffrey, could you come up and say a few words? There you are.
Thanks, Doug. All right. Thanks, Doug. I want to welcome everyone. What an amazing event again. This is our 3rd annual, and I've always am bewildered at the abilities of Doug to put together such amazing opportunities like this for us. When you look at Toshiba's in the room, our mayor's going to be in the room. I mean, Avnet's going to be in the room. Just think about the quality and the quantity of people that we're bringing together from a global perspective. And I think that just speaks to what the Global Chamber means, what it has to offer to our community. And we're in a period of reglobalization. Prior to COVID, most of the manufacturing was over in Asia. After COVID, now it's started to come around to Mexico. China is one of the biggest investors in Mexico. Semiconductor is moving back into the United States, but that's all a good story for all of us because what it's done is it's allowed us to start to become more of a global economy and circulating that in a way that lets all of us benefit. And so I would implore you to stay involved, to allow yourselves to be part of what I think is being global and unstoppable with bringing people together and focusing on how we can do business, not only across the world, but across the street. So welcome and enjoy the summit.
For those of you here and also online, Jeffrey Garza Walker is a leader at NAI Horizon. He is perhaps one of the world's most renowned experts around commercial real estate and particularly working with international leaders. We have actually a couple people on our advisory board here that have expertise. And Jeffrey, having lived in Mexico and having lived internationally, takes things to another level for companies thinking about landing here in Phoenix. It's based in Phoenix with NAI Horizon. So thank you for your leadership. And he's already done so much for our chapter here, just being advisory board chair just for a couple months. Thank you. We're now going to be shifting to Intel. And before I do that, I want to make sure both of our project leaders are introduced. Jian Kim is helping with the slides. And if you could come up and say hi and be ready to shift now to our next presentation with Jason. And Yelim Ku started with Global Chamber. She's actually been part of Global Chamber as an intern, and now she's leading projects to incorporate artificial intelligence and to accelerate the introduction of the Global Chamber app. So Yelim, thank you for your help and all the support you have. And Gian is going to queue up Jason. And let me say a few words before I do that. Jason Bagley is the head of government relations for Intel, and he's been a speaker here at Global Chamber for each one of the 3 years. This week, he's in Washington and talking to leaders in Washington about what Intel's initiatives are. So he and I sat down and did a video. It's actually fairly long. It's about 20 minutes long, but what he does is lay out what Intel's plans are, how they're restructuring their business, and how what the supply chain needs to be thinking about in terms of incorporating themselves into the supply chain. So if Gian, if you could call up Jason, and we'll go from there. The other part that is important, I'll let you go.
I'm here with Jason
Thanks.
Bagley, Senior Director of State Government Relations at Intel. And I've worked with Jason on the side of Jason, or certainly part of what Jason's been doing for well over 10 years. I remember, Jason, the interactions you would lead at the Arizona Chamber, and the knowledge that you impart and the market sensibility that you impart. I've always respected that in you. And now today, with all of that experience, it's coming to benefit both Intel and the supply chain, because you've got the technology, you've got the knowledge, you've got the foresight to be able to be ready for what's coming. And what's coming today is very different than the market 10 years ago. Unfortunately, now all of that experience is going to benefit everyone. Could you give us a sense of what's happening with Intel, what you'd like the supply chain to learn about what's going on, and then what can they expect in the future?
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity very much, Doug, and hope that those who are participating will get some value out of what is discussed here today. So Intel is in a bit of a quest. Our CEO, Pat Gelsinger, when he came on board just a couple of years ago, of course, Pat had been with Intel previously for about 30 years and was one of the innovators inside of the company. He did many things to help set Intel on the trajectory that resulted in just tremendous advances over the years. Well, he left for roughly 10 years, came back as our CEO, and with his return, established a vision that our board of directors is very supportive of. We call it our IDM 2.0 vision. And basically what that means is that Intel is going to continue to be an innovator. We are a great American company. After all, we brought the world the semiconductor, the microchip back in the day, and worked to establish the United States as kind of the hub of semiconductor-related innovation. And of course, the world has changed. All of us are very familiar with what that looks like. The pandemic really brought to a head the challenges of the current situation. And that situation is an imbalance in the global supply chain for semiconductors, with Asia being a very dominant player and being in a position where the market and the end user of semiconductor products was put into a position of not being able to get what they need. And we had large swaths of the economy come to a standstill. And we are working to change that. We're betting the company on a new vision of what a semiconductor manufacturer should look like. Not only are we always going to innovate and drive our innovation, manufacture in-house, but standing up this foundry service with Intel Foundry Service. We're going to provide Intel technology and leadership, not only in microprocessor technology manufacturing, but advanced packaging services. And Intel is a world leader in our packaging technology. bringing that all together to provide robust capability and opportunities for our customers. But going back to rebalancing, so with that dominance of Asia, it became very clear that for the interest of the United States, for the benefit of consumers, there needed to be a shift. Now, that doesn't mean that we're pulling out of Asia. We've been operating in Asia for over 50 years and doing so very successfully. It's an important market. They are an important player in the semiconductor ecosystem, and they will continue to fill that function. But what's different is that we are working to drive a rebalance of moving to about a 50-50 representation of capability. 50% in Asia, 50% between the United States and the EU. And that's our vision of what will constitute a rebalance of that. We'd like to see that by 2030. And with that is coming significant efforts to increase factories, fabs, to increase our packaging capability and other aspects of what does it mean to have a semiconductor presence in the United States in every aspect. And so we're on the path to be spending about $100 billion over the next 5 years in the United States to increase our capacity and our capabilities here. We advocated very aggressively with the United States government to get them to pursue the most impactful industrial policy since World War II, which is the CHIPS Act. And that has been an active policy, and now it's been funded, and now we are about to hopefully to help the United States companies and those businesses located in the United States relating to semiconductors to be able to compete on a more even playing field as our Asian friend. And so with that also brings the supply chain. It is in many respects dominated in Asia, and just as with the manufacturing and so forth, the supply chain also needs to have some rebalance. And we're starting to see that. Intel historically has done a good job, I think, of being able to have robust, redundant supply chain. So as different things have happened around the world that have constrained supplies for some companies, Intel has been able to largely navigate that without too much difficulty. And much of that speaks to a lot of the strategic planning that has taken place at the company and people involved in that to be able to make sure that we can continue to do what we do. But the capability to manufacture grows in the United States in particular. There is going to need to be some rebalancing of that supply chain. So you see countries like Canada and Mexico, for example, really taking an active role in analyzing what they can contribute. Now, the fact is that those two countries, they're just not in a position where a semiconductor business is going to just land a fab, put a $20 billion fab in their country right now. It may come down the road, certainly, but right now, that's probably not a realistic opportunity. However, plugging into the supply chain, absolutely is. So that's an area that we're seeing a lot of movement, a tremendous amount of interest being expressed by both governments in what they can do to participate more actively in the semiconductor supply chain. So that's really encouraging, and we're very excited about that. The other thing that we're starting to see, and I'll use the example of our Ohio greenfield site, which is under construction. We're building two fabs in New Albany, just outside of Columbus, in Ohio. Those two factories are, in fact, are the same fabs that we have under construction in Arizona at our manufacturing site there. But with that new greenfield side, we're seeing this convergence of suppliers who are wanting to locate to Ohio. Keeping in mind, Ohio really did not have a semiconductor ecosystem to speak of. Now, before we located our factories there, we had Intel had suppliers in Ohio, and we were drawing upon Ohio expertise. But we're now seeing a rapid acceleration of suppliers locating to Ohio. We're seeing the same thing even in our well-established site, Oregon, Arizona, Mexico, for example, where we have large manufacturing operations in those states. We're seeing more suppliers located to take advantage of the growth and to be able to ensure that they are able to participate more fully. So this is all very exciting. One of the most significant things that we're seeing now is the active participation of public investment. So these are taxpayer dollars at the federal level and the local level being allocated to help accelerate the growth and deployment of semiconductor capacity in the United States, from research and development to the actual chip manufacturing, to advanced packaging operations. All of those areas are being funded and invested in through the CHIPS Act, and Intel is playing an active role in that. We have submitted applications that are under consideration, and hopefully we'll hear future about what that might look like from Intel's standpoint. So with that said, Doug, maybe I'll pause there and see if you have any questions for me, or if you want to address another area.
Sure, no, great information. There were a couple things that I noted through that, and certainly I heard that there's opportunity for the companies within the supply chain, given this rebalancing that's going on. It sounds like if the centers in Arizona and Ohio to participate, going forward in the future. Could you just say a couple words about kind of Intel's overall supply chain strategies and how companies that are either presumably involved already in some way, and then maybe other companies, whether they're American companies or others, should be viewing this rebalancing as an opportunity, or certainly as some sort of a positive for the future for them?
I think it's definitely an opportunity. Where you have this, the reality is that 50 years ago, geopolitics, economies were all driven by where the oil is found, and oil certainly plays a significant role in our modern economy today, no question. But what we are seeing, and what Intel absolutely believes in, is where the fabs are located are going to drive opportunity. It will drive the economy in the future. And so, where these fabs are being located are creating these huge hubs of semiconductor excellence, of the ecosystem. They drive tremendous opportunities for all kinds of players. And one of the things that Intel is doing is recognize that we not only want to be dealing with global players. I mean, we want to be dealing with the best, and those companies that can deliver on their commitment and do it in a high quality, competitive way. We also recognize that there are a lot of players who may have a little more challenge getting visibility, but are equally competitive and provide tremendous services. And I'm talking about smaller business, more local business, and diverse minority-owned companies, veteran-owned companies, and so forth. And so Intel, our global supply chain management group has a strategy in place to specifically focus on opportunities for some of these smaller companies, and particularly underrepresented minority-owned businesses. And so we have programs in place that are taking an active look at these companies, and it's really quite exciting to see. Again, going back to Ohio as an example, we are seeing a number of efforts underway there to educate and inform, and then to give these companies an opportunity to have a look in terms of Intel looking at them and evaluating their businesses. And so some of this is also going to require over the years being able to help some of these companies to stand up and to get to the point where they can more effectively compete. And so Intel is going to be working with them. So there's going to be opportunity, not just for the big, massive global entities that that have been around for a long time, that are the ones you traditionally might see in the supplier space, but it's expanding. And so with this reshoring effort, this rebalancing effort that is underway, it is creating a tremendous opportunity for the supply chain that we haven't seen in years and years.
I've got one more question that relates to the market, and I think I'm probably going to date myself. However, most of my career has been with the DuPont company, and there were materials that we provided, particularly products like Calres, which is used in the semiconductor industry for high purity operations. And from those days, my recollection was that the semiconductor industry was very cyclic, and it would go through these boom and bust cycles. And we, as a business in the supply chain, would prepare by being diverse, like having automotive, which also was cyclic, but hopefully the cycles didn't coincide, and very often they didn't historically. However, I think what we're seeing is kind of something very different from 10, 20, 30 years ago, which is a real drive in the market around data, and artificial intelligence is driving it. So are we past a lot of this cyclicality for the semiconductor industry? And could you talk a little bit about how you view the market going forward, and the importance of artificial intelligence in driving that market?
Yeah, Doug, that is a really, really good question. I've been with Intel 22 years now, and over the course of my career, it seems like you were either standing on the accelerator because you can't go fast enough, or you're stomping on the brake because you can't slow down fast enough. It just has always seemed that there hasn't been kind of the smooth trajectory, and that has been, that cyclical nature of the semiconductor industry you referred to. I think what we are definitely seeing is the digitization of everything. And with that, this enormous growth in data, and for a number of years now, there have been massive amounts of data being gathered, the vast majority of which just sits there. Nothing is done with it. It's just sitting there on hard drives and so forth, and not really being used to help inform decision making, or to help with innovation or whatever. And what technology like artificial intelligence is going to do, it's going to help cut through the massive amounts of information, the massive amounts of data, and be able to, depending on what it's asked to do, it's going to now be able to sift through that and be able to gather meaningful information, meaningful elements of data that will inform decision makers on how to solve a problem. So this gets to enterprise systems. This gets to large functions where large amounts of data can help inform very meaningful decisions, and to do so in a very quick way. Public infrastructure, in healthcare, and any matter of transportation related infrastructure as well, and technology. There are huge opportunities. Smart city, mobile technology, and so forth. I mean, it covers this wide gamut. Well, this also gets down to the individual user. Intel is working to incorporating artificial intelligence into our technology is one of the top priorities at Intel right now, and we are working to embed AI into our core products. Intel is going to ship tens of millions of PCs this year that have AI capability embedded in the system and into our products. And we want to be able to turn loose the capacity of humans to innovate, of humans to be able to do things that they haven't been able to do before. And it really is going to represent this breakthrough opportunity for people to be able to leverage information and data in ways that they never have before. And so integrating artificial intelligence is something that Intel is actively involved in. We are working to ensure that is incorporated into our products, the offerings that we have for our customers, and ultimately the end user is going to benefit tremendously from that.
Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for the leadership of Intel Corporation. We really appreciate you sharing this information to the Global Chamber Global Semiconductor Summit here at our headquarters within Thunderbird School of Global Management. Are there any final comments that you'd like to make? And again, thank you for your support.
Thanks, Doug. Just shout out to you and the organization, Thunderbird in general. Really appreciate everything that you folks do to elevate. At a time where the politics of our day can seem very insular and seem to be retreating. You are helping to ensure that there's recognition and appreciation for the capabilities and benefits of staying connected on a global basis. And so I think the work that you're doing is absolutely tremendous. And I guess the last thing I would say is Intel appreciates the opportunities that we have and the position that we're in to help ensure that the United States in particular is in a position to continue innovating, to ensure that what we do gets spread all around the world to ultimately lift and better the lives of every person on the planet. That's what we hope to be able to accomplish. We believe we're headed in the right direction. And again, thank you for the opportunity to spend some time with you today.
Borders that trade require fewer soldiers. The technology and the innovation that you're bringing to the world elevates people's lives in very special ways. Thank you for sharing today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Our next speaker is Akihito Oma, and he was here last year. I had the good fortune to drive him over to the reception, which last year was at the Japanese Garden. This year, it's at a different location, sadly, because last year's was extraordinary. You'll hear from the garden later today. There was some chance he would not make it to this meeting, but he's coming to a different kind of reception this afternoon. So I know many of the members of Global Chamber are going to that. If you're a member and you're not, and you have some availability, please let me know. But I think you'll see, I know you'll see Shacho, the president, Oma, who will be there. And I think I'm tasked to take him to the airport as well. So I'm presuming he'll be there. Could you show the video? He is the president and CEO. I call him Shacho because that's the Japanese word for president of Toshiba Electronics Components.
Hello, I'm
It's Senator Mark Kelly, and I want to welcome all of you to Arizona and take a few minutes to talk about our state's growing microchip industry.
That's the next presentation.
Hello, I'm here with President CEO Akihiko Oma of the Toshiba America Electronics Components Group. And we really appreciate, Oma Shacho, your knowledge and experience with Toshiba, one of the world's top leaders in the semiconductor space. You're here to talk about what the company is doing, your perspectives on Japan, and so many different developments going on. We really appreciate your time and your expertise in sharing to our audience today. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. My name is Oma. As Doug introduced, I'm working for Toshiba, and I'm president of Toshiba America Electric Components, which is handling semiconductors and hard disk drive. First of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present in this great event. I did presentation also last year. It's my honor to do the same presentation again this year. Thank you. So I would like to introduce our company overview and also semiconductor, especially focusing on power semiconductors. So this is our Toshiba Group organization. We went through the privatization process end of last year, and we became the private company from the end of last year with a major shareholder, JIP, Japan Industrial Partners, and we all the private equities are gone, and we are restructuring our business, but our focus for the business remained the same, and our investment plan also remained the same. And the JIP will support us for longer term business growth with a good investment for the focusing area. So as you can see on the bottom half, these are our major segments at the Toshiba Corporation. From the left, electric devices and storage, which I'm working for, and energy, infrastructure, digital solution are the four major segments, and other business we have on the right side. And as you can see from the sales revenue within there, electric devices and storage division is the majority of the Toshiba sales revenue. Then thinking about the mega trend and then what Toshiba is doing for that mega trend. I think I don't have to mention about all the detailed mega trend, which everybody knows, like a climate change, shift in global economic power, demographic changes, and some new technology. And other than those changes, I think other economic fluctuation risks are there. Of course, as we ever know, COVID and US-China trade friction, and also some disaster like earthquake, all those things. So these are the mega trend. How Toshiba contribute to this changing world? We try to contribute to the carbon neutral society on the right side. It's a little bit small character there, but what I want trying to say here is we contribute to energy creation, energy conservation, a new technology, energy matching, all those things. And then if the world moving to this trend, I think the number of data is also increasing. So we support the digital data business as well. And for those carbon neutral society, most important technology is around the middle of this presentation, high efficiency, power saving, low power, high quality. These are the important things for this carbon neutral thing. Then for those technology, majority of the segment which we need for those efficiency is in infrastructure, industrial, automotive, data center. These are the major segments which need those power-related products. Thus, our focus is mainly for these three segments. As you can see from this page, all those focus segments, there's a lot of power semiconductor usage for that. And not only for power semiconductor, we have other semiconductor lineup like optical devices, microcontroller, motor driver. We all have those lineups contribute to this segment. And also on the right side, data center server, we also have a hard disk drive as I introduced at the beginning. Then power semiconductor is our most focus for this area. Now, then just I would like to look at the semiconductor market. So left-hand side, based on the Gartner data, could be a little old data, but from 2021 to 2025, CAGR is 4%. The right-hand side, power semiconductor market grows like 7% more than the other semiconductors. Oh, by the way, this is excluding memory because we don't have a memory business now. Then among those 7% increase, as you can see on the right side, automotive, industrial has a remarkable growth among semiconductors. Thus, as I said, our focus will be automotive, industrial, and so on. Then, as I said, I would like to focus more on the power semiconductors. And this page is just showing the image. If you talk about the human body, where power semiconductor is in the body, power semiconductor acts like a muscle and heart. And those muscle and heart support the power application like EV, reducing weight and extend mileage for that. And of course, as a human body, we need some brain, ear, eyes, as a CPU memory and sensor. Then our focus is on the power semiconductor, I said. So then I would also like to introduce a little bit of our history of power semiconductors. We started semiconductor production in about 1950s and started production for germanium transistor and diodes in 1957. And since then, we have been developing the new products and also those products apply for some important segment like a bullet train. You can see 1963, just 1 year before the first Tokyo Olympic, I believe. In those bullet train, our semiconductor is in. Then since after that, we developed FET, field effect transistor, and the world's first IEGT, and also IGBT, and recently SiC is our new latest release product, SiC. So we have been in this business over 60 years now and continue to be focusing on with a good investment. Then I would like to introduce about our investment plan. We are going to double down the capacity for 300 millimeters 12-inch. The left-hand side is just a scale image. We have invested for the first line on 12-inch in our Kaga factory, which is north part of Japan. And maybe you know about the January 1st, the earthquake badly hit the area. But we also have a good BCP plan at the factory. So we had a damage a little bit, but we just resumed from the beginning of February of the production. So that factory, Kaga factory, we invested majority 12-inch, and the second line we are constructing now. And the mass production target start in 2024 this year. And also the other remarkable thing is that we are using renewable energy for this Kaga factory, and we are using our own power devices for our own renewable energy consumption. That's about the investment plan. And as I said at the beginning also, Even the ownership change for Toshiba Corporation, basically we will keep on focusing on semiconductors and keep on investing the plan we have announced before. And let me also introduce our factory location. Blue color is front end, red color is back end, and some factory doing both. The majority of the front end is in Japan, like Oita factories and Iwate factory, which is produced by Japan Semiconductor Corporation, 100% owned by Toshiba. And Kaga factory, as I introduced, they are doing both front end and back end. We do other back end at the Thailand factory. You can see on the right side, right bottom picture there. That's about our factory location. Last but not least, our catchphrase is our semiconductor and storage products will always be a driving force to change the world. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Oma Shacho. It looks like you're quite optimistic about how the semiconductor market is developing. You've been involved for many years. I'm wondering, from your perspective and your historical perspective, how does the market overall look to you today versus in the past? It seems like it's more dynamic. It seems like it's more steadily growing. And have we gone past kind of the boom and bust cycle that we've seen in the past with semiconductor because of so much market demand that you described, like with automotive?
Yeah, in the past years, like the COVID period, the demand went crazy, and all over the world there was shortage, and we tried to invest and increase the capacity that time. And recently, the demand is slowing down, but I believe it passed the bottom. Then demand is getting more and more, and just some inventory in the market is still there. So I'm expecting the market recover from like middle of this year timeframe and keep on increasing. So as you or as many other people know, semiconductor market is always fluctuating. So the important thing is keep the good strategy and keep the good investment and utilize those cutting edge technology and always catch up the market. We have a good sensor to the market with customer partnership, then we can keep on growing. That's my perspective.
You yourself are based in the US and you have a view of the Americas market. How do you see the market here in the US evolving going forward? I think also you're feeling good about the market in the United States as well.
I think US market is leading technology in all over the world. So in our company's mission and vision statement, we are always trying to get more attention from our Tokyo headquarters side for US companies, US customers, and the US companies trend is affecting all over the world, like Asia market also. So I believe many new technologies start from US market. So I want to prioritize more US market for Toshiba Group companies. That's my hope.
What is your role? What is your goal for this year? What are you looking to be successful with for Toshiba?
I would like to create more partnership with customers, stronger partnership, and also kind of look for the more, how can I say, integration or integrated sales for semiconductor and including hard disk drive and penetrate more into the market and keep on growing. That's the kind of our goal.
Well, you're doing really well at it. Congratulations on that. Thank you for taking the time to speak here at the Global Chamber Semiconductor Summit, and thank you for attending. Have you attended all 3 years or just the last 2 years?
Just last year, yes.
Okay. Well, we appreciated your presentation last year. It looks like you've made some great progress in the last year, and we look forward to watching your progress going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oma for presenting today.
Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Dad.
Both Jason and President Oma expressed their regrets, but they were very kind over the last few days to put these together, knowing that they wouldn't be here. The next couple speakers are great examples of somewhat rebutting a general theme around the world of that politicians aren't of value. Both of the people that you'll be seeing today, first Senator Mark Kelly and then Mayor Gallego, are both capable, competent, business-oriented, transparent, non-corrupt, and I don't think either of them have ever been indicted. And it's a great example that politicians and people in elected office can help business. We're business-oriented. We're not at all political at all. We just want to make progress with trade because we know trade helps the world. And there are certain politicians that understand that as well. Senator Kelly is one of them. Let's cue him up. Gio, where are you? Could you raise your hand? Oh, there he is. So Gio is from the office of Senator Mark Kelly. Thank you, Giovanni Richmond. And if you'd like to see him, you're probably going to have to catch him because I know you've got an obligation. But thank you for having Senator Kelly do the presentation, and thank you for being here. This is his third year, 3 out of 3 years, presenting at Global Chamber.
It's Senator Mark Kelly, and I want to welcome all of you to Arizona and take a few minutes to talk about our state's growing microchip industry. As you know, microchips are in nearly everything from cell phones and washing machines to cars and fighter jets. And since I was elected to the Senate, I've been focused on making sure we make more microchips here in the United States. And there's nowhere better to do that than right here in Arizona. Arizona has been making microchips for decades, starting with investments made by Motorola back in the 1960s and Intel in the 70s. This means we have the skilled workforce, the supply chain networks, and right business climate to support microchip manufacturing. And that's why Arizona is at the heart of current efforts to strengthen our domestic microchip production. In recent years, some of the biggest players in the semiconductor industry like TSMC, Intel, and Amkor have chosen to expand manufacturing operations right here in Arizona. And dozens more companies who make cutting-edge tools and materials and who design package and test chips are also coming to Arizona. And thanks to the CHIPS and Science Act that I led the negotiations for and got signed into law a year ago, we're supercharging these investments here in America. Our law provides incentives, grants, and a 25% investment tax credit to help make it economically competitive to relocate here in the United States. And I think we're going to start seeing some major awards announced under this law very soon. I'm committed to making sure that our bipartisan law is a success, and I'm not stopping there. I'm also leading the fight to streamline federal environmental review requirements so they don't get in the way of these historic new investments. And I'm working to make sure that we break down additional barriers that prevent foreign companies from investing in the United States, like eliminating double taxation on businesses based in Taiwan. As more and more companies look to expand into the United States, please consider me and my office as a resource. And know that I'll continue working hard to support this critical industry in the months and years to come. Thank you, and enjoy the conference.
Hello. Oh, there we go. So while Gian, you put the background up, and we'll figure that out. I think in the meantime we have a black screen, so that's cool because I think our next speaker needs really no background. She is well known by everyone here in the Valley. Certainly, she goes along with that same vein of a politician who has impact. She's a Wharton graduate, so she has that business background. She worked in economic development here in the region. She's been in city council. And now as mayor, she was instrumental, perhaps the most instrumental person in getting TSMC to invest in Arizona. She is an extraordinary leader, and we really appreciate you, Mayor Gallego. I think you've got a few things you'd like to say, and then we'll open up the floor for questions. Mayor Kate Gallego.
Thank you. Shorter speech. Okay. Look at me. If I'm yelling, it might be a shorter speech. So I'm Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego. For those of you who are watching or visiting us, welcome to Phoenix. We are so excited to be partners of the Global Chamber. We just renewed our membership, and it's been a great partnership. We've been able to locate companies in Phoenix, like Zorosign from Dubai, thanks to Global Chamber collaboration, and we hope to use this partnership to tell so many important stories, including what is happening in the semiconductor space. For those of you who don't know my background, I spent a decade at Salt River Project, and I was in the economic development group when Intel expanded in Arizona, playing a very tiny role, but it was very influential in my development of my political philosophy, and that's why my first international trip as mayor was the one focused on TSMC, where we went to Taiwan and recruited TSMC to invest in Phoenix, an incredible $40 billion, our largest ever foreign direct investment. It's fabulous to be talking about this at Arizona State University because ASU was really one of the key partners we talked about when we were recruiting TSMC. They really cared about the collaboration and the workforce. The fact that we have this incredible engineering school was very important. Thunderbird was also key. There's a lot of Thunderbird graduates all over the world, but in Taiwan. And so the brand was strong, and that helped us, as well as the incredible number of successful semiconductor companies that were already in the Valley. We competed against destinations all over the country. TSMC had decided they wanted to come to the United States, but not yet committed to Arizona, and we are so glad that they were able to do so. When I got the call they were coming, it was the summer of 2020, the height of the COVID pandemic, and it was such a personally important moment to me. When you're mayor and it's a global pandemic, you wonder how your city is going to come out. We were very worried about ties with Asia in particular, and the fact that they made that investment helped me feel confident that what was wonderful and successful about Arizona and Phoenix before COVID-19 would continue to be our great selling points after. It's also, there's been a lot of big semiconductor and technology news right here in this global forum. The last time I was here, I was with Odette Baker, who is the honorary consul for the Netherlands in Arizona. She helped bring the Prime Minister of the Netherlands here for a delegation focused on semiconductors. There's great Dutch companies, NXP, ASM, ASML, who are investing and growing in Arizona and are part of the incredible boom we are seeing. And the Netherlands really appreciated what was happening here and wanted to be part of the global expansion in Phoenix. They also brought a Flemish delegation as well. My strangest memory, though, was seeing the Secret Service protecting a bunch of Waymos that drove here. When visiting heads of government or in our country, the Secret Service has to protect them. And they had this tech-forward delegation from the Netherlands who was also interested in the fact that we're the largest autonomous vehicle zone anywhere in the world. So we believe we made history right out there with the first head of government ever to ride in an autonomous vehicle. I am part Dutch, but like the height didn't rub off on me. Many Dutch people are quite tall, and Waymos are not the biggest vehicles. So it was this very tall gentleman, the Prime Minister, being protected from very also good-sized Secret Service people getting into a Waymo. They had a camera to record the delegation's reactions in the Waymo, and one of them fell off and hit the steering wheel, and then it triggered the safety mechanism, and the Waymo pulled over. So good that the safety mechanisms work. It was real life testing, but the Secret Service was not thrilled to be protecting a Waymo, and so I think they wish we wouldn't do that all the time. Although they all had great stories to come home with, and I thought, it wasn't bad that we were making that very first history with semiconductors in the Waymo, made in Arizona, and the first head of government to take a ride right here in Phoenix. I love it when we're known for being technology forward and being innovative. And I hope during my time as mayor to continue to make those investments. We're working very hard to support the incredible growth of semiconductors. At the city, we spend a lot of time on workforce. We partnered with Maricopa Community College to make sure that we are investing in the very best technology so technicians can get cutting edge training. Gateway Community College will have the ability to train people on a $150 million piece of equipment. And you don't see that at most community colleges, but we got to be cutting edge if we want to train the very best individuals. We've also launched an apprenticeship program that will help train people on the job to go into technical fields and make sure people who live here right now can get these great high wage jobs. The National Institute for Innovation and Technology is a huge leader in semiconductor training. And just this week, they were in Phoenix and recognized us for the first in the nation type of apprenticeship program. Incidentally, it was the heaviest award I have ever received. Very, very sizable, but neat that we are making history here and really trying to get people involved in the workforce. We also continue to try to attract the entire supply chain. And so my colleague David Drennan and I were in South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan this summer trying to talk about semiconductor growth. And we've seen great investments since we returned for companies with whom we met, from Sumitomo to NGK. We're also seeing supporting industries, and then the food scene is also improving as a result of semiconductors. So we're seeing, for example, the largest maker of products like tempura, dry tempura in the country, growing in Phoenix. And I think they like the fact that we have this more cosmopolitan customer base. It also does not hurt. They apparently dry tempura, they're fine with our lack of humidity here as well. So we have other advantages to sell. Next week, I'll be with Governor Hobbs in Mexico, and we have a major focus around semiconductors and nearshoring, including some of the raw inputs, so some of the mining that might be able to happen closer to home, as well as particularly the packaging companies. We think there might be great partnerships between here and Mexico. The governor of Baja California was here 2 weeks ago around semiconductors. They are home to many American companies like Qualcomm, and they want to be partners with us here in Phoenix. While she was here, we launched nonstop service between Sky Harbor and Tijuana. If you want to fly on an American airline into Tijuana, you can only do it from Phoenix, Arizona, and semiconductors has helped make that possible. My colleagues at GPEC, I don't know if I'm stealing, it's good to go before them so I can share our work, but we were just meeting yesterday with an Asian carrier, and it's just so much of that investment and growth is really driven by semiconductors, but people who aren't in the industry will still benefit from the more nonstop connectivity. Semiconductors even played a small role in our new Air France service between Phoenix and Paris, which will start in May. So we're just getting more global attention, more connectivity. We have long been a top city, but semiconductors has been the breakthrough that has really helped us go to the next level. And so I can't be more excited for those of you who work in the industry. I hope to be a good spokesperson and just explain to people, even if you don't work in semiconductors, you are benefiting from the tax base, from the connectivity, or if nothing else, we got better dumplings from Taiwan. So with that, we have time to have a little bit of a dialogue here. So I will turn back to Doug.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Are you okay with answering a question or two? Okay, great. What questions do you have for Mayor Gallego? Oh.
here. Hi, Mayor.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Congratulations and everything. Eduardo Gonzalez, 258 Consulting. I just wanted to mention that I'm hosting two delegates from Chihuahua government, and they're also very interested in getting involved. The Undersecretary and the President of Chihuahua Global. So you will see more of them and hear even more of Chihuahua here in Arizona.
Fabulous. The Mexican government and Chihuahua have been great partners, and it's just incredible to see how much potential for partnership there is and to take advantage of all of our unique
Eh,
partnerships. So
We used to have a direct flight to Chihuahua, so we're going to start the conversation to see how we get.
look at all that we're
going,
getting
huh?
done through the Global Chamber. I got my last name by marrying a guy who lived in Chihuahua. So there you go. Unfortunately divorced now, but
Very good. I'm going to go back here to the famous, and he's going to be speaking in a moment. Mike Patterson, Spencer Fane, the best international attorney for landing in the region by bar none. Can I hear a round of applause for Mike? And he's an amazing mariachi singer. If you haven't heard it, you have to hear it.
Mayor, all these things that are coming to Phoenix, they all 3,000 jobs here, 1,000 jobs there, 2,000 jobs here. Can you talk to us about all the great things you're doing in Phoenix to, the community colleges, the relationship with ASU, et cetera, to supply that job, that labor force?
absolutely. We want to make sure that people in our community know about these great high wage jobs, most of which pay better than Mayor of Phoenix. And that starts with construction and goes all the way through manufacturing. Right now, there are more than 13,000 construction workers who are working to build just at TSMC, and thousands more if you look at all the other sites. So we're trying to help young people understand about careers in that area. If you have a picture of construction, it might be very different than what happens on semiconductor, where it's incredibly skilled trades. And we are working to partner with construction entities about just telling people what the trade is like and to share some of the stories. I got to talk about semiconductors this week with Vice President Harris. And one of the stories I was telling her is among the iron workers who are doing welding at TSMC, it's 20% of them are women, and they're predominantly women from the Navajo Nation, many of whom. I met one whose dad worked doing welding at Navajo generating station, so in the coal industry, and that expertise prepared them to go into semiconductor. So it's incredible just the stories of these individuals who get very high wage jobs, and we're going to TSMC invested a huge amount in training and apprenticeship programs so that people can get this skill set, which then gives them the future workforce to keep growing in Phoenix. We also have a wonderful partnership with Phoenix Union, where they are talking to their high school students about fields in this area. The language really matters. It's interesting when I talk to high school students about semiconductors, I get some blank stares. But then when you talk about these are the chips in video game devices or your phones, this is the magic technology, kids get more excited. Or when you talk about you can do 15 billion transistors on a thumbnail. It's like magic, how precise the construction is. So we're working on our language. WestMech, which is career and technical education for students in many parts of Phoenix, is building a whole facility just focused on semiconductors. And one of the key things which you see with the community college, WestMech and more, we're trying to get very high quality training materials so that our students can learn on the cutting edge technology, which will give us a huge advantage. ASU has received a significant grant from the federal government to invest in the very best technology as well. And I don't think I'm allowed to announce it, yes, but look out for NAU news soon. That will be what? Okay, I don't know. I don't know if it's my news to announce. But we're really trying to think comprehensively about the workforce, and even the Arizona Science Museum is going to step up with young kids so that they can start learning at the age just what great jobs are out there and what a rewarding career you can have. You want to do our final?
How's your Mandarin Chinese coming, by the way?
Yeah, my Mandarin Chinese is going to need some work. Spanish may be more likely.
We have a question here.
My name is George. I come from Taiwan. Yes. Today I would like to make a testimony and to say that it's our pleasure and the right decision to come to Phoenix. Okay. I will give you 3 small stories. Okay. That means you have to listen to me. Okay. In 2022, and at the AIT, American Institute in Taiwan, they arrange Select USA the mission. Yes. Then when we come to the Phoenix, right, the people there, including the ZPEC, yeah, Tom, yeah, they arrange all the people grew in valley and welcome us. Yes. And in that event, I feel the warm hospitality and from the people here. Yes, that means my love in first eye to Phoenix. Yeah, and never forget. Also at the same time, I got so many social connection and with people grew here. That's good for our business in the future. And the second, in the 2023, and my company would like to select another land in Valley. Yeah, basically I contact with the city of Phoenix. Okay, and so the department or economical development department and also the planning and zoning department, they help us. Yeah, based on their experience with the SMC project. Yeah, so I do remember one lady named Amanda. Yeah, from the zoning. Yeah, I'm a picky man and asking so many questions. Yes, so he be patient and always in a very short time give me response regarding the land issue, land use permit or the building permit and the security. Yes, that's good for my project in the future. Yes, I won't forget the division employee of City of Phoenix. Yeah, working. Deeply appreciate. And number 3, yeah, in the 2024, recently, day before yesterday, and regarding the tax issue, that's a lot of headache to the foreigner in here. And we encounter tax. I ever go to the state IRS several times for the tax, and so nicely your people treat me. Yes, in a very short time, good efficiency. Also, day before yesterday, I went to the maybe federal IRS. They call it Taxpayer Assistance Center, and the people there also help me because I'm working without appointment. And your employee, I do remember his name is Andrew, and Barbara, yes, and just still, and let me wait maybe 10 minutes. Then that means under applicable regulation allowed by him, yes, he still follow the law, yeah, but give me the best service and let me complete the tax refunding application in a very short time. Yes.
Fabulous. Well, thank
Yeah.
you. I'll try to.
Very good.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, but
That's well, I'll try to pass on all the good thanks
the
for
last,
so many folks.
not the least,
Uh-huh.
one thing, you see, we Taiwanese, the contractor and the supplier chain come to here and want to, in the future, that's our virgin. Not now, maybe too late, yeah. To apply, utilize, we call it modularization, yeah, in the project, to speak out and to speak out and fasten the design build time schedule from 50 months or 45 months to 30 months as we did in Taiwan. Okay, that's our version. All the time.
Fabulous. Well, thank you. I don't know how I can beat that testimony, and I'll tell our folks at Community and Economic Development Planning, and you guys will pass on to GPEC the very kind words and much appreciated.
When will you be a registered voter?
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible. So I think we need to wrap up. Sorry, Marcos. Did you have something very quick? Okay.
To Mexico City next week.
Where in Mexico, who are you talking to and what are you talking about?
Fabulous. So we have a great bipartisan delegation that includes Mayor Romero of Tucson, Mayor Giles of Mesa, Governor Hobbs, several business leaders, and in particular, we're meeting with the foreign ministry and some of the groups working around semiconductors, and then the Ministry of Tourism as well to promote. We got 14 flights to different destinations in Mexico, and we're going to add another Chihuahua destination very soon. So we want you all to fill those flights and to do onshoring of the nearshoring of the semiconductor industry. It's been incredible to see the collaboration.
When is election day?
Yes, November 5th, 2024. So coming up soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, David Drennan, and thank you to the team of Mayor Gallego. We now are going to shift over to a collaborative team of the city of Phoenix, and that's the Greater Phoenix Economic Council. Casey is going to introduce, I think, the both of you, Thomas as well. Come on up, Casey and Thomas. Casey Gilchrist and Thomas Maynard are going to go through a little bit about what GPEC is all about, and also how they help the supply chain. So please go.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Casey Gilchrist. I'm the Senior Director of International Business Development with the Greater Phoenix Economic Council. I oversee our organization's efforts to attract investment out of Canada and Europe primarily. I'm not going to be presenting today. That will be done by my esteemed colleague, Thomas Maynard. He's our Senior Vice President of Business Development. Among many roles that he serves on GPEC, he oversees our international business attraction efforts, and he also brings a wealth of expertise in working with clients from the semiconductor industry. He just celebrated his 10-year anniversary at GPEC, and one fun fact that I like to share about Thomas is he's currently serving as an honorary commander, and he just co-piloted his first flight at Luke Air Force Base. Did it co-pilot? Yeah, that's pretty cool, right? It's awesome. So join me in welcoming Thomas Maynard as he shares his insights and how we as GPEC help semiconductor companies in the supply chain locate to the region.
Thank you, Casey, and it's our honor to be here. And as Casey mentioned, we're here to be a resource for you all. We know a lot of people in the room. For those that we don't know, I'll go quickly kind of through some slides. I know we have a lot of speakers today, so I'll get through this in pretty short order. But GPEC, if you're not familiar with a regional economic development group, we represent the 22 cities and towns that make up Greater Phoenix, as well as Maricopa County and down into Pinal County. So Supervisor Sellers is here. Thank you for your leadership and for being here. We've been around since 1989, and it's really, truly our honor and pleasure to be the economic development agency on behalf of Greater Phoenix. What do? We help companies grow and expand to the market. We'll kind of talk about what we're doing specifically now, specifically in the semiconductor industry. As was said earlier in the panel, this is a huge market sector, not only for the United States, but in particular for our market. We like to include the map of what we include because we heard from Intel. Obviously, TSMC and Intel are the two major anchors of our semiconductor ecosystem. So if you're from Phoenix and Arizona, Intel is in Chandler along that 101 corridor just south of 101, TSMC's facility up there in North Phoenix. However, we wanted to include this map because we've already helped about 25 companies in the semiconductor ecosystem, and they're literally everywhere on this map. They've gone as far south as Casa Grande, There's quite a few chemical manufacturers that are building new facilities down in Casa Grande and Pinal County. There's definitely a cluster of these groups that are around the current Intel campus, and the East Valley in general is going to continue to see a lot of investment. We see our friends there with DSV in the back. We need to add their logo to this here soon. But even going up north surrounding the TSMC campus, the Deer Valley area today is probably the hottest industrial real estate market because of all the supply chain interest in there. And then you probably saw, I know it was in the news earlier this week, Amcor's facility officially got approved by the city of Peoria. So that 303 corridor, we know today the Price Road 101 corridor is known as the tech corridor, semiconductor hub of Greater Phoenix. There's no reason to believe that the 303 corridor servicing mostly the West Valley could be that next major hub. So great to see investments all over our great region. If you're from Phoenix or if you're from Arizona, you know of the 5 C's. I won't quiz you, but these are the 5 C's of what drove our economy, going into World War II. Over the last, almost 50, 60 years now, you're seeing how our industry is now driven on advanced industries like healthcare, financial services, and what we're going to spend most of our time today talking about, manufacturing and semiconductor manufacturing. If you look at the ecosystem and as an economic developer, we love this stat. We obviously compete with all 50 states in the US to drive business. But if you're a semiconductor company, you're probably only going to a handful of states. California, Silicon Valley is always going to be Silicon Valley. That's the headquarters of a lot of these major companies. There's not a lot of production or manufacturing in California, as you would imagine. Arizona, of course, we think is the best. We may be a little bit biased. Texas is getting a lot of investments, specifically with Samsung. Micron is making a large investment up in upstate New York. We probably need to add Ohio to this map. We heard from Jason earlier, Intel, as he mentioned, is making a major investment into a new semiconductor market in Columbus, Ohio. But we know these are really the states, if you're in the semiconductor market, you're looking to come to the United States, these are the states they're going to be looking at. Again, Arizona is the best. Jason referred to this slide a little bit, but I think this is important to set the context of where we stand on a global scale. So today, almost half of the market share of semiconductors in the United States, we're only making 13% of the semiconductor ecosystem. If we round the clock back to 1990, that was 40%. So for the last 30 years, there's been a major divestment from the United States, primarily into the APAC market for semiconductor manufacturing. We're going to hear from Mike Patterson here in a little bit. We heard from our great Senator Kelly. The U.S. government is now having a seat at the table to help drive this investment back to the United States via the CHIPS Act. So that's what we're seeing. This shift is really all over the world coming into the United States, but it's primarily going to be from APAC making their investments into greater North America and into specifically into the United States. Some of those logos, again, that we've talked about in detail already, Intel, TSMC, Amcor, they are in the advanced packaging space. So the chips and the wafers and chips get made here, and then they get shipped over to Asia to go through the advanced packaging phase. Amcor is their facility here that's going to go into Peoria. It is one of the first, if not the first, U.S.-based advanced packaging facility. So again, further diversifying our own semiconductor ecosystem, which is also pretty already established. We love showing this map. There's a lot of tiny logos, but what this shows you is when we talk about the supply chain, it's so complex to make a semiconductor chip. All of these logos are smaller companies that are making their investment in, again, those handful of states that we showed earlier. What does this mean from an economic development perspective? It's not just those large anchors are the job creators. It's all of these other companies that are looking to grow and expand. The job types, the mayor just touched on this. We need to be producing more engineers and graduate level talent from our great universities, led by Arizona State University. But we also need that 2-year technical, even down into the high school level, very skilled position. So this is what all of these logos will represent. Why do companies move here? If you're not from Arizona, you probably think, why are these semiconductors moving? There's no water in Arizona. That's not true. We don't have time to really go into many of the details, but let me tell you that there's a reason why these companies are making their investments here. We in Arizona take our water seriously. Every drop of water that is used in an Intel or a TSMC or any other company that's making their decision to move here is repurposed in some way. It's either sent back into the aquifer and it's recharged into our system to use as the groundwater of the future. It's used for other uses like golf courses and parks, or it's to go to our Palo Verde nuclear power generating station, which is a 4,000 megawatt nuclear power facility. It's the only nuclear power plant that's not on an active body of water. That's because we use our wastewater as a market, as a region to feed that power source. So we're used to using and saving all of our water. This isn't something that's new here in Arizona. So even if you're looking to make an investment here and you think that you have some concerns about water, please talk to us. We'd love to chat more about you, and we got plenty of room to grow in our market. The mayor touched on this, but Mike, you asked a great question. How are we going to produce all of this talent? All these people are moving here. All these companies are moving here. Where are they going to come from? The colleges and universities are really the lifeblood of what makes economic development and what makes Arizona and Greater Phoenix successful. We have 5 million people in the market today in the Greater Phoenix region. We're going to 6 million people in the next 10 to 15 years. So that's very attractive to companies when they're looking to make their site selection decision. But to answer that question, Mike, of where we're going to find the talent, we're going to have to produce that talent here. So again, not to belabor the point, but that also includes that 2-year technical quick start programs that the community colleges are starting. So you go from a 10-day program to knowing nothing about semiconductors to getting the basics of the semiconductor ecosystem and being prepared for your first job interview into this system, all the way going up to the ASUs, U of A's of the world, of course, our friends at Grand Canyon University, all preparing the workforce of the future. We love this slide. This is the future. This is where all of this talent is sitting. ASU again leading the charge in terms of total enrollment, but not to discount what's happening at our friends in U of A, NAU, and of course GCU as well. And I'll end on this. It's important to note, and I know the mayor left, but another key reason of why we're seeing our fair share of wins in this industry is our government leaders are committed to Arizona being still a pro-business, pro-growth environment. So we're a right-to-work state. We have a flat tax of 2.5% at the personal income level. If you're a company looking to make an investment, our state is continuing to make strides to make sure that there's a low-cost competitive environment for your business. Our city leaders are really taking the lead to making sure you need to get your plans through the permitting process. You needed to start your construction project yesterday. You need to be operational yesterday. Our cities, and it's represented by some of the mayors that you'll see in this screen, and our Governor Hobbs, are really the leading cause to try to help drive continued investment and growth in our market. The last slide I will end on, and if you are an international company considering Arizona, there's a wide range of different soft landing programs in the region. They're all under the brand of the Global Growth Accelerator. And I encourage you to talk to myself, talk to my colleague, Casey, if you want to learn more about this. But this offers 3 months of free rent for you as you go and establish your U.S. entity. We know investing in the United States is hard. There's a lot of challenges. Doing business in the United States is not necessarily easy. However, you have partners at GPEC, partners that are friends at the Arizona Commerce Authority, and also partners at the local level. So we're here to help. Thank you for the time. I know we have a busy agenda. We'll be here around to take any questions, but thank you. Appreciate the time. Yeah, Doug.
Thomas, I think GPEC has been recognized as an award-winning organization. Can you just kind of explain why?
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning that. And you're right, Doug. We've been honored to be recognized as the #1 economic development agency by our peers nationally, and actually, it's actually a worldwide recognition that GPEC is the number one economic development shop. The reason why, and this is not easy to do, is because we're funded by both the private sector. We have 200 companies that are members of our organization to help promote us as the group that goes out there try to attract these companies. There's a lot of those folks that are in this room, but that is in combination with the public sector funding that we get. So again, 22 cities and towns, that's 22 cities and mayors from different political aisles all around our table to say, hey, how are we going to drive our industry forward? How are we going to drive our economy forward? It's not easy, but that is the secret sauce that makes GPEC, and we thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. We're a little bit over halfway. Stand up for a second while Tracy Latham, could you come up? And she's our next speaker. Everybody stand up and stretch your legs. Stand up. Those of you online, there's 300 people here in the room and online. You can stretch your legs too. It's a lot easier for you perhaps. And our next speaker is Tracy Latham. Tracy is a member, and we've got back-to-back members talking about what it's like to manufacture in Arizona, and you're going to really enjoy it. You may now sit. Tracy has to stand. And we'll wait for you to fully sit. Are you ready? Very good. Tracy impressed me from the first time that I met her, and I was able to do a tour of her plant in North Phoenix. And it's an extraordinary example of manufacturing in the supply chain of semicon. She's very gracious to be here today because she's actually moving into a bigger space because of her growth. So congratulations and thank you for taking some time today. She's just going to give us a little bit of a view of what's it like to be in this supply chain. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Doug. It's always a pleasure to be here, participating in events with the Global Chamber. As you mentioned, I'm Tracy Latham. I'm the CEO and founder of Latham Industries. We're a woman-owned and operated electronics contract manufacturer right here in Phoenix. We do printed circuit boards where we can do SMT, we can do through-hole or mixed technologies. Some of the other things we do is we'll do prototyping, full box builds, programming, testing. We also have a diverse customer base across many different industries, aerospace, medical, industrial. So we can take your Christmas lights and synchronize them to music, all the way to a security system that we built that went into a NATO base in Belgium to help the F-35 land. So it's quite interesting industry that we're in. We invested in state-of-the-art equipment, and that allows us to, especially with technology, components are getting smaller and smaller. So we can place a component that's at 03015, which no one's placing right now. So visualize this. If you had a pepper shaker in your hand and you shook it, that's how small some of the components are that we can place. That technology also has allowed us to be very precise with our processes and add additional quality through all the steps. We are for traceability, which is very important for this industry, especially aerospace and medical. Okay, I can tell you if we place components on a board and say there was an issue with that component, I could tell you every board and every place on that board we place that component. That becomes very important because if there was a recall and there's 100 boards out there, all of a sudden you got to bring all 100 back, which can be very costly and expensive. Well, we could take a look and say, you know what, that rail only went on the last 5 boards. So now those are the only ones that have to be recalled. We have our certifications, industry certifications. We have our ISO 9001 2016 and just recently got our 13485 medical device. Arizona is second in biotech, so it was a good thing for us to position ourselves that way. Arizona is an exciting place for business. You've got companies like Amcor, Intel, and TSMC, right? So there's plenty of opportunities to build new relationships and also to strengthen existing relationships. And one of the things that Latham Industries has done is we're positioning ourselves to support all this growth in Phoenix. Okay, so we can be that company that as you're waiting for your business to be built, we can bridge that gap. We can take care of all your overflow, or we could be a true partner where we become an extension of you and you can focus on your core competencies. Okay? As you've heard here today, workforce is extremely important. And it's very important for us also because we're a little bit further down the food chain. Okay, we take the chips and put them on the boards. Okay, and because of all of this collaboration between the universities and community colleges and industries, we've had the opportunity to have students come in and give them a full understanding. You know, we're just not someone sitting at a table doing assembly. You know, it's the design, it's the layout of the board, it's understanding how to run this equipment, doing the programming. So it's really helped us a lot to have some input on that also. And we did have a special announcement that Doug alluded to. We're very happy to announce that we are moving on March 12th into a bigger space that doubles our current footprint. Okay, we're thankful for the city of Phoenix for all their support in making that happen. What it allows us to do is continue to grow, create more jobs, and bring in more technologies that we want. So that's a very exciting time for us right now. As new and emergency industries continue to relocate to Arizona, and Arizona's the forefront of innovation, and we're very happy to be here, and we're very happy to participate in all of that. So thank you.
Amazing facility. Get to know Tracy. She's an extraordinary leader. We are almost actually on time. We're only about 5 minutes over. And another little bit of a glitch that happened is Ricardo Blatt of ED2 was going to be here, but yesterday he told me about his father having a serious operation, and so he needed to stay in Tucson. So we wanted to make sure that he spoke because he's a parallel to Tracy, that they've got technology and capability in this segment, but they're in southern Arizona. Last year, we had the American Battery Factory, another member of Global Chamber speak. They subsequently relocated and are building a facility in Tucson. We want to make sure that those of you online, particularly, but anyone here, of course, gets to think about Southern Arizona. Alma Peralta is here, I believe, from City of Tucson. Alma, there you are. Say hi to Alma. There you go. Hi, Alma. And I want to just say a couple words about ED2 and Ricardo. For all of you online, by the way, Yelem Ku is apparently chatting with you online. And so if you have questions, it'll be kind of difficult to incorporate those into this program. But send us your information and send us your questions, and we're happy to connect you along the way. ED2, which is Ricardo's company, is a new technology company with deep engineering expertise, having particularly skills in semiconductor packaging and RF devices. The leadership team spent the last 10 plus years commercializing and refining the use of glass as a substrate for semiconductor packaging and 3D heterogeneous module development. Get to know them if that's an area of interest, and we're happy to connect you. We're going to shift from southern Arizona to a little further south, and that is Mexico. And I'd like to introduce Eduardo Gonzalez, who spent decades working for ProMexico. He seems to know everyone in Mexico, and he subsequently seems to know everybody in the US in manufacturing. He's someone you need to know if you're in that space. And he's brought some friends from the state of Chihuahua here. So gentlemen, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Eduardo Gonzalez. I run a consulting firm called 250 Consulting. I help companies locate contract manufacturing options in Mexico. Basically help them move their manufacturing from China to Mexico. And today I have two guests from the state government. They are visiting Arizona and to see how we can collaborate in the supply chain for the semiconductor industry. So please welcome Fernando de Alba Quiñones. He oversees mining and advanced manufacturing for the Secretary of Innovation and Economic Development for the city of Chihuahua. He has many years of experience in the private and public sector and internationally. Please welcome Fernando.
Hey, hello. Okay, I'll be brief. Thank you, everyone. Once again, my name is Fernando Alba, Undersecretary of Economy, Industry, Mining, and Energy for the state of Chihuahua. So, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed college and distinguished guests, Chihuahua is a state in the northern Mexico, has long been recognized as a key player in the global supply chain, with a strategic location, a skilled workforce, and a commitment to innovation. Chihuahua has become a hub for semiconductor manufacturing, research, industry, aerospace, and medical devices. In recent years, our state has seen significant growth. I'll go through the presentation in just a minute. I just want to give a brief introduction about our state. And as you will see in our presentation, we are home to several companies, worldwide companies like Foxconn, Ford, Jabil, Pegatron, Bosch, and some others. Chihuahua's success in the industry is due in large part to its skilled workforce. The state is home to several world-class universities. Additionally, we have a strong collaboration and innovation with companies, universities, and government agencies. Looking ahead, Chihuahua is poised to continue and committed to supporting the industry to investment, infrastructure, education, and research. So I'll go, let's say, briefly to this presentation. My intention today is for all of you that don't know our state that well to have a, let's say, a glimpse of the things that we are doing, where we are, and the kind of industry where we are located. So right now, I will say that our state is the #1 exporter in the whole country. This year, in 2023, we just closed with foreign direct investment. I will say we are the #5 in the country. Last year, we received almost $2 billion. And also, we are the #1 exporter in the whole country. The numbers for 2023 are not out yet, but for 2022, we exported basically to the US $75 billion, once again becoming the #1 state in the whole country. We are the #1 state in the country also in manufacturing sector jobs. Right now, we have around 470,000 people working in our state. Our population, 3.7 million, and we've been growing in the last 3 years for over 5% per year. I'll go briefly through this. As I was saying before, 2016, 8 years ago, we were exporting around $43 billion. Right now, for 2022, we have around $75 billion, 74 increase from 2016 to 2022. We are seeing basically 3 trends that are coming to our state, which are electromobility. In semiconductor, I will say basically main users of all integrated components that are coming to our state from all over the world, and obviously nearshoring. I will say that the investment coming to Chihuahua are basically in 3 areas: automotive electronics, $4.5 billion, metal mechanic, $198 million, aerospace, $132, medical devices, $80, and others are around $180 million, which are basically $5 billion for the next 2 years. The great, let's say, a great part of that investment income is coming to Ciudad Juarez, which is across the border from El Paso, Texas, and the rest is basically Chihuahua, the capital of the state, which is around 3 hours south. Briefly, I'll go through some of the things that we are doing right now. Energy, we recognize is the #1 challenge for our state. We are adding around 1 gigawatt of energy in addition to around 400 megawatts of energy that is right now CFE, which is the state-owned energy company, is investing in our state. So in the next 3 years, we'll have around 1.5 gigawatts of energy available for companies coming to our state. I would also like to mention that we have a really strong binational innovation district composed of different cities like Las Cruces in New Mexico, El Paso, Texas, Ciudad Juarez, and Chihuahua. We have advanced technologies research centers. And as we used to say back in Chihuahua, we are 3 states, 2 countries, the 3 states being New Mexico, Texas, and Chihuahua, and 2 countries, obviously Mexico and the US. We are working and developing little by little the semiconductor capabilities. We hope to, we'll have more of this in the very near future. Right now, our talent development, we have around 28,000 students working in STEM-related, let's say, curricula. And annually, we are graduating 6,000 engineers in our state. We have a wide, let's say, partnership with several schools all over the US, like the William Davidson, with the University of Michigan, UTEP in El Paso. We are working with E3, which is located in Taiwan, and we will start an exchange program in the next, for the semester beginning in September 2024. So we would like to see more of that coming here to Arizona, and hopefully for the next few months or so, we'll have a stronger partnership with colleges here in Arizona. Something that we are really proud and which is really positive for our state is that we are just 8 hours away from Arizona and also 8 hours away from Austin. We are basically connected through the I-10, which we all know. This is one of the main reasons why our companies are coming to our state. We are basically in the middle of the US. We are connected to the world, but 4 international airports with connections, with 1 connection away from Asia and Europe. Briefly, I'll say that we have more than 400 companies in electrical appliances, computer, communications, aerospace, and medical devices. As I said before, electronics, automotive, aerospace, and medical devices are let's say, the main drivers. We have, I will say, 6 out of the top 10 OEMs in the whole world, which are Foxconn, Flex, Pegatron, Jabil, Wistron, and Plexus, and 3 out of the top 10 ODMs, which are Pegatron, Wistron, and Inventec. Our state is the #1 recipient of chips and semiconductor in Mexico. Annually, we receive around $35 billion. Our country receives around 70, and we receive 50% of that. So that's why for us, it makes a lot of sense to be in the middle of semiconductor industry, since our customers, let's say, upstream, the companies are sending their products here to our state. We have a wide incentives, and we could, I won't go into detail in the kind of incentives that our state offers, but basically we can offer payroll subsidies, workforce development, real estate, and company-specific incentives, which can be infrastructure, highways, energy, and whatever any company requires. So we are more than open, really, to have an open dialogue with any company coming to Chihuahua. As I was saying before, the Taiwanese presence in Chihuahua is really wide. It's growing year after year. We have companies like Foxconn, Pegatron, Wistron, and Inventec. Here, my friend from Taiwan truly recognizes those companies. They are investing around $2.5 billion, growing really big. And right now they have offering over 20,000 jobs and growing, let's say, year after year. We would like to position ourselves in the semiconductor value chain, from the back end to the end product, PCB, and the end product. We believe that we have the capabilities to be, let's say, a destination for investment in these areas. And the reason is very simple. The companies that I mentioned before, Foxconn, Electrolux, and some others are the ones that are making the electronics products that are being shipped to all over the world. From our state, we are shipping to companies like Tesla, SpaceX, Dell, HP, and some others. So right now, we believe that basically we are seeing that this is a huge area of opportunity for us. Here I have a picture with my friends from, I really messed up here, sorry for that. With my friends from Pegatron, which I will say that the Taiwanese community in our state is growing day after day, and we feel really proud of working alongside them. We've been, as Pepe Noriega and other people knows, we've been all over the world talking about semiconductors. So I will say, I conclude by saying that the future is here, invest in Chihuahua, and we send the best wishes from our governor, Maru Campos. She just was elected 2 years ago, so we have 4 more years of her administration. So thank you for your time here. I take a little bit more of your time, so thank you once again. Thank you, Fernando. Thank you.
Thank you, Fernando.
Thank you.
Please. I also want to welcome Mario Juarez. He is the director for Chihuahua Global. It's a private partnership, economic development council. Mario has many years of experience. He has been undersecretary for economic development for the state of Baja California. He's my ex-colleague at ProMexico, and he knows a lot about foreign direct investment and promotion. Please.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. My official name is Jose Mario Juarez Lopez de Nava. It's like my size too large. So with the semiconductors, I use only Mario Juarez. So thank you very much for the invitation, for this opportunity. And as we mentioned, Chihuahua Global EDC is like a combination of GPEC and ACA. We are a nonprofit organization created by the private sector, and we are focusing soft landing, expansion, and retention. So it is important to attract new projects into the state, but it's much more important to retain the companies that actually we have, because our best or our work promoters are the companies we have established. So what we do for the companies that wants to do business in Chihuahua: information source, site selection, business agenda, city tours, executive assigned to your project that is going to breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dream with your project, assigned 24/7, business seminar, professional reference. So in this, no charge for the companies that wants to do something in our state. We have members and partners, construction companies, energy, real estate, developers, shelters, and the different authorities. We work very close with the state government, with the federal government, the city governments, and the different clusters that we have in the state. Some of the main players that, as Fernando mentioned, are in the aerospace, automotive, electronics, and medical devices. And you can see that is very similar to the sectors that you have here in Arizona. So the relation and our presence today here is we want to create this collaboration between Chihuahua and Arizona, because we have similar industries, we have similar objects, and we need to promote all this as a big mega region. So in terms to the electronics, more than 121,000 employees, 160 electronics companies. So some of the main products that actually we are producing in the state: circuit boards, tablets, laptops, etc. Fernando shows something of this. What can we do in the type of semiconductors? The automotive, which is very important in terms to, we are the second auto parts producer in Mexico. design and centers and engineering centers, 2 OEMs. This is part of the supply base that we have at this moment in the state. And you can see some of very no brands that actually has operations here in Arizona. So again, we have similar conditions between Arizona and Chihuahua. This is how is the sector, how is basically we are producing every part of the cars for auto parts in the Chihuahua state. The e-mobility that Mr. Fernando Alba mentioned. And what can we do as a Chihuahua for semiconductor projects? A tailor-made for long-term support plan, land grants, long-term talent development programs, assistance in negotiation for fiscal incentives with the city, the state, and the federal agency, a dedicated investment concern, and all the support that you needed. Just to finalize, if we promote this as a big region, we want to say that if you visit the region, Arizona, Chihuahua, you are welcome. But if you invest in the region, Arizona, Chihuahua, you are much more welcome. Thank you very much.
Any final comments? I don't know what final comments we can do. But well, connectivity, we're at same distance as San Diego from Ciudad Juarez. So we're looking forward to see how we can join not the mega region, the macro region with all the northern part of Mexico and the southern part of the US. Thank you again.
Is Ricardo here? Oh, Ricardo, come on up. Ricardo Rascon from Tetacawi, one of the largest employers in the state of Sonora, is here, and he's going to build on that conversation. Please go ahead.
Nice to meet you in person.
First time.
Yeah, you're a lot taller in person. Yeah. Good afternoon. I hope you all are doing well. As Doug mentioned, my name is Ricardo Rascon, and I represent Tetacawi. We're based in Tucson, Arizona, and we're what's known as a shelter service provider. The shelter program is a mode of entry that's unique to Mexico. And really what it provides is the quickest, most cost-effective, and risk-averse way for a company to set up their own manufacturing footprint in the country. This model has been around for about 40 years now, and there's about 30 shelter service providers throughout the entire country. But we all do things a little differently. At a high level, the way our business model works is a company in the semiconductor industry would say, I want to set up a facility, maybe 50,000 square feet, 100 to 125 employees, and I don't really know how to turn this vision into reality. What they would do is contact a provider like Tetacawi or any of our competitors, and we would help with the due diligence. Our number one goal is to help make sure that they make the right decision for their company. Does it make sense to even do this in Mexico? How much is it going to cost? Where should you locate? Once we help them make that go or no-go decision, then we get to work. We find and lease the building on their behalf, recruit and hire all the people that they need, make sure they're compliant with all regulations, and then help them import all the raw materials and equipment necessary to manufacture their products. Once we give them the keys to this facility, our job doesn't stop. We also provide ongoing support. So we help with all aspects of HR, import-export, regulatory compliance, accounting, finance, taxes, etc. Really, our value proposition is to provide an operating environment where manufacturers, regardless of industry, could focus on what they do best, which is manufacturing whatever their product may be, without having to worry about the complexities or even the bureaucracies of doing business in Mexico. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of different shelter service providers, and we all do things a little differently. One differentiator is geography. For instance, Tetacawi is in the states of Sonora, we're in Coahuila, we're in Mazatlan as well. But we're not in Chihuahua, unfortunately, and we just heard about all the advantages that Chihuahua has to offer, and there's certainly providers there. And I think we all do things differently, but it's a great way to start. And at the very least, we have access to a lot of information, a lot of data, that we could put to work for you so you can make the right decision. So thanks again for the opportunity to be here. Thank you, Doug. And it was good to finally meet you in person.
So Ricardo's not able to come to the reception tonight, but hopefully you can catch him when we're finished here. One last kind of thread of presentation before we shift to Korea. Mike, could you come up? Mike Patterson, you met earlier. He's an attorney with Spencer Fain, and he's going to talk about the CHIPS Act and an update on that. Last year, you gave us some information. He is the world's expert on the CHIPS Act. Please let us know more.
Well, maybe not the world's leading expert, but I do know a few things. GPEC has been so gracious. They asked around town when it started, who wants to talk on this? And they thought there would be a lot of volunteers, but really it was only us and one other firm said, we'll do it. And so we've now given, we're on our third, going on our fourth presentation webinar for GPEC. I don't know if any of you have come to these. They're free webinars online, and they've been very successful with those. I'm a lawyer with Spencer Fain Law Firm. We are 500 lawyers in 24 cities now, and I do a lot of international and cross-border with many of you. I lived in Mexico for 10 years, and Latin America, I'm cut me open. I'm Mexican. Anyhow, I'm trying to get my dual citizenship. Listen, the CHIPS Act, the public policy behind that was to bring it back. We were asleep for many decades, and we let our semiconductor industry largely slip away to China, the big heavy, and so much of it. And we woke up in the last decade in particular and realized that the situation could change here. We might not always be friendly, you know what I mean, and other factors and economics, but over $56 billion on the table from, and not only from the current administration, but this was really bipartisan, passed through. Everybody wanted it, Republicans, Democrats. We got to go get this back. And we're now a little over a year later. Been a lot of applications filed, and the checks are just starting to come out. So the money's just starting to flow. It has taken a bit to get it out the door, if those of you that are following it. A little word for you called NOFO, N-O-F-O. Notice of Funding Opportunity. That's the jargon under the CHIPS Act. And there have been three. It's going to be another one. The first one came out for the leading edge, the big boys and girls, if you will, the Taiwan Semiconductors, the Intels, the Toshibas, the Amcor, all that, you know what I mean? But then, and so that was for large, you had to be leading edge, and then three other categories right with that of super technologies. Then they opened it up to supply chain, a second NOFO, Notice of Funding Opportunity for supply chain, but you had to have a project that was more than $300 million, just a little chump change project of over $300 million, right? And then they came out with under $300 million for suppliers and equipment manufacturers. But still, you were running on your own, and the administrative piece to put together a mostly 70-page application in excess of that. It was a lot of work, big investment for a company with no guarantee of getting a yes. And then a few months ago, they came out with a very limited window for something called a consortium. And they said, all you got to give us is 15 pages. Whoo! 50. Now you have to be under 300 million, but you could even have a project that's only 30 million, you know what I mean? But all you have to do is give us 15 pages, but you need to be part of a consortium. And they put some hooks in there and requirements that you probably need to be in in a neighborhood that has a leading edge and has an organizing group and some universities and this, that, and the other. And you know what? There were a lot of companies who could put together 15 pages, but the rest of this, of the consortium, wasn't that simple. So in Arizona, we put together what I understand anecdotally is the leading consortium in the country, led by our Commerce Authority and the universities participating and others. Put it together, and almost 20 companies jumped in, and we're right on the cusp of this. The deadline was February 1st, and they're all in. I'm working with a number of the companies, but the next round is that they're going to ask some of those companies to do a full application. But at that point, the company actually has a little bit of a nod that, oh, they liked us. There's potential here, and we're in the comfort of this consortium where they see us as a group and the positive of the group. And so I really encouraged a couple of my clients, yeah, but we might want 350 million. Now get under 300 million, get in this, because you have your hand held and led to the mat by that. So that's going on. That's very good. I would say what has come out of this and the CHIP Act is there's a strong urging. Collaborate is a key word. They want you to collaborate, and you're here today. You're collaborating with others. Collaborate with the Global Chamber. Join the Global Chamber. It's not that expensive, but get in here and collaborate with other companies. GPEC as well, and collaborate. There is an ecosystem here in Greater Phoenix, and I would say the Greater Phoenix area. Chris Camacho, Tom Maynard was here. And at the time when they were passing the CHIPS Act, Chris Camacho and everybody in town here was saying, call everybody and have them vote for the CHIPS Act, because you know where that money's going. It's coming to Phoenix, Arizona, because of our ecosystem that we have going on here. And I would just, I'll be brief and get off the stage here, but I would just wanted to say, we have an ecosystem here that is not only great universities and other things, but we're just right on the border with you all in Mexico, and we've got a great ecosystem with our Mexican partners, and the semiconductor support of Mexico is also critical. But remember, semiconductor companies that come to the Valley here and get going and get started, they have other needs too. Karen's here. They need bankers, Jeff is here. They need real estate, to find their facility, right? They need labor and employment help. We do that. They need intellectual property protection. They need contracts done. They need leases. They need immigration, translations, tax, finance to raise capital for what they're about to do. You can get that 10% from the federal government on your $300 million project, and then you got to find some tax credits, and then you got to find we're about like 140 million short. Where are we going to get that? We got to go raise that capital, unless you've got a founder who's got it in his pocket. So it's not just the CHIPS applications. There's a lot to this. But I just want to tell you, it's great. It's great for our whole ecosystem here, for lawyers, for accountants, for bankers, for everyone else that want, and we're all ready. We want to support you. Just let us know how we can help. Doug?
Thank you, Mike.
And by the way, did I say join the Global Chamber? Doug has been the hub of the international wheel here for so many years. I was here on day one when we had one chapter. And now we're 500 and how many, Doug? 525 chapters. Isn't this amazing? They just opened one in Mexico City and Chihuahua.
Thank you, Mike. Mike's extraordinary and is a great supporter for the region and a great asset for everyone. We're going to shift now to Korea. And while we're shifting, we have Dr. Yun, who runs 5 of our chapters in South Korea. So Seoul, Busan, Daegu, Daejeon, and Gwangju. He's an ex-Kotra person, a leader. And that's how I met him 10 or 12 years ago. And many times when we start chapters, that's kind of how it works. We've worked together. he's extraordinary. So he's going to be, if we could get him up on screen, that would be awesome. While we're doing that, Jennifer Clinton, I'm going to surprise because she leads Cultural Vistas, and the conversation about talent has come up. One of the really key programs for Global Chamber over the years has been the Korea West program. In fact, Jiyeon Kim is a product of that. She's an intern for 7 months at Global Chamber for, I think, the last 5 years. We've almost always had an intern from South Korea. Typically, these are graduates in international trade and related areas that are very helpful for Global Chamber. Could you just say like 30 seconds, 60 seconds on Cultural Vistas? Because you're amazing.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Doug. I'm here from Washington, D.C., and really happy to be part of this. We really help facilitate the mobility of talent. So it could be individuals, college students like Jiyoung, but also professionals, people that come in to the United States through a J-1 visa for anywhere from a year to up to 5 years. And the semiconductor industry is a perfect match for that talent mobility because of the needs of the growth in the sector and the connections between the expertise that's around the world. So happy to connect with you all, and thanks, Doug, for having us.
Jennifer Clinton of Cultural Vistas, and she'll be at the reception tonight. So if you're coming, please connect up. Dr. Young, Dr. Peter Einstein Wonsak Yun. So his name is Einstein, and there's a whole story related to that. That's a private conversation. But I knew him a dozen years ago when he ran Cotra Los Angeles, and we've been staying in touch ever since. He is perhaps the most connected business leader in South Korea with all sorts of activities. And so we're so proud to have you as a leader for Global Chamber. You're going to share a little bit about the semiconductor industry. We've got about 10 minutes, Dr. Yun. Thank you on a Saturday morning for Zooming in. What would you like to share?
Yes, thank you, Doc, for introducing me to everybody here. So good morning and good afternoon, everybody. Before I start my presentation, I would like to appreciate the thought Mighty having me to introduce Korea's semiconductor industries to you. And also I'd like to congratulate the third annual Global Chamber Summit in Arizona. So let me share my slide. Would you share the slide? Okay. So today I would like to focus on the two subjects. One is the Korea's new strategy for the semiconductor industry called Mega Chip Cluster. Second one is the introduction of IFES, Incheon Free Economic Zone, which is my new job. So not only the Korea, but also all the other countries are heading for the technology competitiveness for the sustainable growth for the future. Next. So this is President Yoon. So the technology is getting more innovative, affordable, and advanced so that we can solve the many existing problems and challenges for the mankind. So our presidents also take most priorities to take a leadership of the advanced technologies. Next. Korea's global competitiveness in the advanced industries. We are leading the #1 in memory semiconductors, second position in batteries, as #1 in OLED, and second position in the biopharmaceutical manufacturing capacity, which most hub is in Incheon, and #3 in EV, and #1 in the industrial robot usages. Next. Our aspirations to take leadership So we are going to heavily, invest in these areas. So for the semiconductors, we try to build number one cluster by the actually we changed 2047. And also we try to aiming to global number one in batteries as well, and also display and so on. Next. So let me introduce Korea's mega chip cluster strategies. So Korea is the undisputed global number one in semiconductor cluster. Mostly for the memory semiconductors, we are taking 60% of market shares in memory semiconductors, and also we are having the 10% of the logic devices market share, and also we try to increase our self-sufficient of the materials, components, equipments up to 50%. Of course, human resources most important resources, so we would try to develop more than 150,000 workforces. Yes, just 1 month ago, the President Yoon Suk-yeol announced that the government support for semiconductor industries. So would you click the video clip? So this is just 3 minutes. You don't need to play everything, but
when half of American parents can't find childcare, businesses may close. Citi is investing in Wonder School so they can give parents more childcare options and help towns across America get back to work. For the love of progress, Citi.
Oh. So can I share my slide? Sorry.
Transform. For the world's leading chip cluster.
We probably need to move on because that's playing on another screen. So maybe just go to the next slide.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We begin with an ambitious project for the world's leading chip cluster in the country. South Korea today rolled out a plan to create a mega chip cluster in Gyeonggi-do province by 2047, with leading chip makers making investments worth hundreds of billions of dollars. President Yoon called for support across the board to get this mega cluster up and running. Our top office correspondent Oh Soo-young has more.
South Korea is betting on semiconductors to provide at least 3 million quality jobs by fostering the world's largest chip cluster by 2047. That's according to a policy briefing by the Ministers of Industry and Science to President Yoon Suk-yeol, who has been opening up a 10-part series of government reports to members of the public. With the third such session spotlighting semiconductors as the country's leading export item, the government pledged to back corporate-led efforts to foster a cutting-edge mega chip cluster in Gyeonggi-do province, home to Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix. The two global chip giants will invest over $472 billion as part of national efforts to add more foundries and memory chip plants across the 21-square-meter belt. The government plans to increase tax waivers for investment in chip facilities by up to 25%, as well as create research centers with leading academic institutions and nurture 150,000 professionals in the field.
Would you stop?
To people's livelihoods. Once completed, a total of...
Go back to my slide, please.
Do you have it on your end, Dr. Yun?
Yeah, I'm gonna share that one. I'm sorry. Yeah. So this is
No worries.
So this is our plan to set up some the new clusters. So on the left hand side, we already have several foundries in the 4 places, and right on the right hand side, we are setting up some the new clusters in Yongin. So for the SK Hynix, they're going to set up some more 4 more fabs, and Samsung trying to build 5 more chips fabs and the 10 families. Next. So would you?
Interesting subtitles we're getting, both English and Korean and some other language we've never seen before. Would you like to wrap up? Because we need to keep moving, Dr. Yun.
Okay, so the slides, so let me conclude. So the chip cluster is going to up until the 2047. So we are going to not only setting up some the infrastructures, there is many incentives for Korean government is going to introduce, and also I'm newly appointed as the commissioner for the IFES, Incheon Free Economic Zone. Whenever you arrive in this Korea, I think you will arrive in the Incheon International Airport, which is one of my territories. So I would like to invite all of you when you come to Korea to welcome to Incheon Free Economic Zone, located in the Songdo. Thank you so much once again. And let me share my presentation with all of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
감사합니다. Thank you. Let's now shift to another conversation with the Korea Innovation Center and Mijong Hibbets, the Global Chamber, Baltimore, Washington, and Sean Ryu, who leads the Korea Innovation Center in Washington, D.C. They're going to be talking about the semiconductor industry, Korean technology, and innovation. Mijong and Sean, welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak at the Global Chamber 3rd Annual Semiconductor Summit. I was there last year's summit in person, but I'm joining this time from Washington, D.C. virtually today. It's really great to see.
Hold on, Mijong. Hold on. We don't see you yet. Who's working on that? Mijong? Getting Mijong to... There's Sean. Thank you for joining. And that must be, okay, hey, thank you. Please go ahead. Sorry, Mijong.
Do you see me though, or?
Yep, we see your slide actually.
I am very sorry how to transit this one back to my face though.
Yeah, we'd like to see you. Maybe shut down that presentation.
Let me shut down the presentation. Let's see.
You're probably maybe sharing it, and so unshare. But I like the building. It looks familiar.
Yeah, I am very sorry. I think that we're having some technical issues. Click stop.
Oh, that's sad.
Click stop sharing. Let me see.
Stop sharing might do it. Sean Ryu, while Mijong is doing that, would you like to introduce yourself and say a little bit about what the Korea Innovation Center does?
Sure. I'm Sean Ryu. I'm working for Korea Innovation Center. We are supporting startups from Korea and the US. So we're trying to connect all the startups from Korea in the US market. And, we are government-backed, nonprofit. There are 400 government entities that are trying to help startups in Korea. We are just one of them. We are based in Washington, D.C. And now I'm in San Francisco for travel, and I'm waiting for Bijan.
Thank you for joining us. Mijong, I think we
Yeah.
have what we have, so please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think that we're running late, so I guess we can just start. I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to speak again at the Global Chamber Global Semiconductor Summit. I am Mijong Hibet, CEO of Robert and William, an international market entry consulting firm for US and Asia market. And I also serve as the executive director of the Global Chamber in Baltimore and Washington, DC. I first wanted to compliment this year's the theme, the global opportunity. It really highlights the semiconductor industry's critical role worldwide. And South Korea's leadership in this field, as a previous speaker, Dr. Yoon mentioned, is really remarkable. And it is really shaping South Korea's economy significantly. For this portion, though, I wanted to shift the focus a little bit to South Korea's innovative startups in the semiconductor industry. These startups play a really crucial role in driving innovation. That's because especially with the industry's rapid changes happening right now, trends like AI and Internet of Things and 5G and autonomous vehicle demand really new technologies, giving startup a more chance to disrupt and innovate. And their agility and adaptability are really key to pushing semiconductor boundaries. So joining me is Dr. Sean New, and he is the president of KIC, Korea Innovation Center, Washington, DC here. With his expertise in semiconductors and venture capital, I think he's the perfect expert to discuss Korea's startup innovation. KIC, a South Korea government-funded global accelerator, supports these startups, making Dr. Liu an invaluable resource. Dr. Liu, thank you. I'm sorry that my face is not there, but I'll go ahead and just ask some questions about the South Korea startup ecosystems in semiconductor area. Can you provide more insight into the current status of South Korea's semiconductor startup ecosystem, and then what sets it apart from the other countries? And additionally, what upcoming technological and market trends are South Korean semiconductor startups are focusing on right now?
Okay, very long first question, I think, but as Dr. Yu mentioned, Korea has a strong presence in memory sector. 85% of DRAM market share and more than 60% in NAND flash. But the country lagged behind in system IC or non-memory sector than US companies, I think. There are many successful chip design companies in the US. Just for instance, AI processor industry, which is very cutting edge sector these days. It's not just about NVIDIA, but there are many leading AI processor companies in the US, including Grok, Sambanova, Nirvana, GraphCore. All these companies are experts in processing power, touch per watt, and power consumption perspective. So they lead the industry now. But these days, Korean startups, they are actually working to expand into system IC and non-memory area. They are already very strong in the memory sector. And the Korean government is also making a significant effort to support and strengthen the ecosystem in this area, I think.
Okay, then with that said, then could you share some success stories or examples of companies experiencing rapid growth right now? And in addition to that, what factors really contribute their rapid success?
Okay, there are many successful, startups, semiconductor startups in Korea, but if I continue on the AI processor example, US companies lead performance, but Korean startups focus more on applications. They aim to optimize AI processing hardware and all the software stacks for specific application. For instance, there is an AI startup in Korea named Sapion. They focus on AI speaker. It's like Alexa or Hey Google in the US. and they try to provide end-to-end solution, not just NPU, but all the software stacks that are optimized for the application. Rebellion, Furiosa are another companies in AI processor sector in Korea. They all tend to focus more on optimization rather than performance. They are trying to be successful in specific applications rather than win as a general purpose solutions. I think that's one of the key factors driving their growth in the global market.
Wonderful. That's very, very insightful. Are there specific policies? I know that the Dr. Yoon previously mentioned about Korea policies in general, how to support this semiconductor industry in general, but are there specific policies that are geared toward more promoting and supporting the semiconductor startup ecosystem? And how are those policies are doing, impacting the growth?
As introduced by Dr. Yoon, South Korea plans to build semiconductor mega cluster in the south side of Seoul, and it will have 13 commercial fabs, and also it will have 3 R&D fabs for System IC. I believe these R&D fabs can be incredibly helpful for the startups in Korea. As you may know, for startups, taping out a chip is a very challenging process from budget perspective and from development cycle perspective, particularly when they doesn't have much volume, which is very typical for startups. So that R&D fabs, 3 R&D fabs can be a powerful tool for semiconductor startups, specifically in the non-memory sector. They can offer flexibility, control, and faster development cycle for the startups. So there are a lot of other benefits from that cluster, but I believe that R&D fab is very critical role for the startups in Korea.
Okay, excellent. And then last but not the least, I'm curious if there are efforts underway for cooperation between major global companies, non-South Korean, Japanese company, Taiwanese, and semiconductor startups, or if they are exploring some diverse market entries to prepare for opportunities in future global semiconductor supply chain arenas.
Yeah, all the major companies, they have customer base and mass production capability. Startups bring new ideas and technologies. I think it's a winning formula if 2 entities are working together. This happens in my previous company, but for instance, an automotive tier 1 company has design capability for head-up display, but they need to secure new holographic engine on chip for their next generation AR-based head-up display, for example. A startup has holographic engine technology, but they need to get some proof of concept from tier 1 or 2 before they licensing their technology to the customers. So they can work together for better product. There is a synergy. All the major companies around the world, they have huge in-house R&D capabilities, but still way more technologies exist outside the company. So I think every player is looking for technology partnership. One of the major role of Korea Innovation Center that I'm working for is to connect tech startups from Korea to another tech companies in the US. We are committed to providing the best possible assistance to the startups from Korea, facilitating collaboration and fostering innovation.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for engaging with me about this topic, South Korea startup system. The ecosystem, and I believe the government's commitment to fostering innovation and then support of this initiative like KIC. The future holds really great promise, and I firmly believe that we will witness the rise of next NVIDIA from South Korea. And mark my words, and the best is yet to come. And thank you very much, everyone. And I sorry about me not being on the video, but thank you.
Thank you.
No problem at all. Thank you. 감사합니다. So there's two different things that occur to me watching this that remind me of Global Chamber. Number one is Dr. Yun on a Saturday morning, zooming in with his expertise and giving us information, which is amazing. He is really the most connected person in Korea. Thank you, Dr. Yun. And then Sean Ryu, who was going to be in Korea, but it turns out today he was in California because of travel. We were able to connect up with him and Mijong back in Washington, D.C. And perseverance. You guys are persevering. You're here. One of the things that we're always overwhelmed with at Global Chamber is there's a lot to the world. There's a lot of things going on. It's sometimes overwhelming. You may feel overwhelmed right now. The good news is if you need help or you want to talk to somebody, we've got it at Global Chamber. One of those people that you should have on your Rolodex that you should talk to if you're interested in India is here, Gunjan Bagla. He's based in Southern California. Gunjan, could you come up? He is the world's expert on business between the US and India. He's a longtime member of Global Chamber. He's going to present the future state and the current state of business in the semiconductor industry in India. Thank you, Gunjan, for being here. We really appreciate it. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you, Doug. So 3 weeks ago, I was going to be traveling to India, and I asked Doug, about Global Chamber activities there. And before you know it, there's a gathering put together in Mumbai with Manoj Gursahani, who leads the Global Chamber there. He opened up his home, brought in more than 20 people to speak about issues that they care about. And it was a wonderful party. And Doug is just amazing in the way he puts these things together. It's been a long afternoon for you. I'm still on India time, so it's about 6 a.m. I'm just waking up. So I want to point your attention to the flags there. We've got a number of countries' flags. I guess all the countries who are represented here. And thank you for putting India's flag at the very beginning. It's in alphabetical order, I think, but we won't go there. Okay. All righty. So where are my slides? Yeah, okay. I won't read all the slides. You've had enough of that already today. So I'll just jump to the points that matter. Why do you care about India, a country that's on the other side of the planet? A country not really known for semiconductor manufacturing. Most of you, when you came here, probably weren't thinking about India, right? So I want to point out that there's recent news about India in the chip business. We'll get to that. But India is not new to this. Back in 1984, Texas Instruments decided to build a facility in India to start designing chips and supporting their activities out of Dallas. Today, fast forward to today, the second picture shows you the investment being made by Micron Technology, which is, I'll get to that in the next slide here. So this was the biggest news out of India in the last few months. Micron Technology decided to put in a significant facility in the city of Sanand in Gujarat in Western India, over a $3 billion investment in building an ATMP facility for testing, manufacturing, packaging, all of that. But the good news for most of you in the room is that 2 billion of that 3 billion came from the Indian government. Okay, 1 billion from the federal government and additional money from the state of Gujarat. Okay. Historically, India has not been known to give away money for projects like this, but they are very seriously committed to expanding the footprint of semiconductor manufacturing, testing, design, the whole works. Okay, and why should we care about that here? Okay, it's actually a strategic move for the United States as well. Okay, so as the US looks at resilient supply chains, okay, one of the key places where the last several administrations have been focused on this, but the Biden administration in particular has made a commitment to what they call the security of supply arrangements, SOSAs, and India is a key player in that. Okay, let me turn to another point that I'll explain here. Just last week, the Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo, made a statement, to reporters about the shortage of technically qualified people in the United States being one of the biggest problems that the semiconductor industry faces. Now, we heard earlier today about all the wonderful engineering students coming out of Arizona State University, University of Arizona, and so on. If you go to those campuses, you'll see a lot of brown faces, faces like mine. Okay, many of the students there are actually coming from India. So India is a crucial participant in the generation of engineering talent right here in Arizona, and right here at Thunderbird, I see plenty of brown faces as well. The talent problem is going to be solved by one country and one country only. Okay, the world's most populous country, India, and we don't measure our engineers in tens or hundreds of thousands. We measure them in millions. Okay, and that's the kind of expertise that will be needed. Okay, I've got that little green bullet about what President Biden said when he was in India, relating to the resilience of semiconductor supply chains. Okay, India has had a vibrant ecosystem relating to semiconductors, was mostly around design. Okay, TI was the first, but today 1 out of every 5 semiconductor engineers in the world lives in India. Okay, that's already the case today. Whether it's NVIDIA, whether it's Intel, whether it's Samsung, doesn't matter. Any of those companies have significant technical talent present in India, and it is crucial for the development of the industry. Okay, so that's the background that we come from. Okay, now if you look at the Indian government's announcements, they'll talk about the growing semiconductor market in India. Well, don't take that seriously. Okay, India is only about 4% of the chip market today. Okay, the global market is growing at 8%. India's market is growing at 27%. Okay, but still, by 2030, India will still be only 12% of the total market for chips, compared to the global market. 12% isn't enough to want to move a chip fab into India. That's not the reason why it's happening. Okay, that's not the reason why companies are considering anything to do with India. Okay, it's really to use India as a base to sell to the world. Okay, you're already seeing this happening in many other industries. If you take any pharmaceuticals, if you're any drugs, over-the-counter medications, chances are you're consuming something from India every day. Okay, I'm a diabetic. My metformin is made in India. Okay, I have high blood pressure. The lisinopril I take comes from India. Okay, I call that India inside. Okay, you're going to start seeing the same kind of activity happening in electronics and soon enough in chips. Okay, this is just some of the recent news. Again, I won't read you each of those points. The most significant one is just from last week. Israel's Tower Semiconductor has made an application to the Indian government that they want to build a chip fab in India. So this will go well beyond the Micron technology investment. Okay. Now, whether this comes to final fruition still remains to be seen. They've just submitted the application. But the Indian government has $10 billion sitting, waiting to be invested from the federal government side. And then the states will kick in their own money. So you can be sure that you'll start to see activity. So if you're working in the ecosystem, any aspect of the chip or display ecosystem, the Indian government is eager to have you participate in any way, whether it is the fabs themselves or the supporting infrastructure. Okay. Any questions so far? How am I doing on time? I have a couple more minutes. Leading this effort is the Indian Semiconductor Mission. And what I want to point out here is the technical qualifications of the leaders. The minister that leads this, is a graduate of my undergraduate school, the Indian Institute of Technology. He then went and got a degree from Wharton. The junior minister assisting him has a degree from the Illinois Institute of Technology. So these are engineers leading the effort within the political ecosystem. Both of them are cabinet ministers in the Indian government. Okay, that's the kind of people that you have leading these efforts in India. So they understand how a chip works. They understand how a chip is built. Okay. There are a couple of slides from the Indian government, how they are going to allocate the money. They like to use fancy Latin terms. So pari passu just means, I think, and maybe the lawyers can correct me, just means on an equal basis. So if you put in $1, the Indian government will put in $1. Okay. And they're targeting a number of different aspects of the semiconductor ecosystem, not just CMOS chips. Okay. In all of this, my consulting company, I'm a management consultant. We can help you in any aspect of doing business in India. I won't dwell on that. If anybody wants to talk to me on a one-on-one basis, we can do that. And with that, thank you very much, Doug.
Good job. Hello. Hello. The meeting ran so long that I ran out of battery. So Gunjan will be there this evening at the reception. So now let's shift. There's two more, actually, I think three more countries, believe it or not. So hang in there just a few more minutes. Anne, would you please come up? Anne Hun. She is from S3I. She's a member of Global Chamber based in the Washington, D.C. area. She's here to talk about Vietnam, which is one of those countries that is a growing presence, not just in semiconductor, but across industries. So Anne, thank you for coming, and we look forward to hearing more.
Thanks, Doug, so much. And good afternoon, everyone. Good morning in Vietnam now. And then because I'm based in Washington, D.C., the East Coast, so my stomach start kicking. We have dinner time there, right? I will try to squeeze everything within 10 minutes as the agenda, because I also want to respect our following speakers. This morning I did a treadmill workout more so that I can run faster, because I do feel that we are in a running contest, right? We have the representatives from different countries and we talk about the same thing. So my name's Ann Huang. I'm from S3I. We advise import, export, supply chain management, and foreign direct investment between US and ASEAN countries, and more specifically, Vietnam. And S3 means smart, secure, so that you can sustain your business. And of course, is semiconductor as well. So I'm going to share with you about Vietnam semiconductor update and some opportunities that as an investor you can realize after my presentation. So do you recognize this gentleman in with the side, welcome to Vietnam? Yes, he has just turned into, Bloomberg just named him the number 21 richest man in the world, thanks to the NVIDIA's stock market values. So this is he stripped last November when he came to Vietnam, and then he decided to invest into Vietnam. So if you want to get rich as him, maybe you should consider to Vietnam. You're going to become a billionaire one day. And before I move on with my next slide, I also want to say thank you and introduce the representatives of Vietnamese government, the Ministry of Planning and Investment in Washington, D.C. Her name is Van Le. She's joining online, and another representative for Vietnamese Technology and Science Ministry from Houston, Texas. So you can see that the whole Vietnamese government based in U.S. are trying to connect and provide you more information. So this is the map of Vietnam. Who recognized the flag of Vietnam here? Thank you so much. Yes, this is Vietnamese flags next to US flag, but this is not bilateral. It is global, right? So this is the map of Vietnam in, again, the S shape. Maybe that's a signal of semiconductor future, right? You see the densities here. So this is the map of industrial parks and industrial zones in Vietnam. So you can see the density where all the infrastructure, land, all the supporting infrastructure are available to welcome the investor to set up factories there. So you don't have to worry about electricity, water supply, or waste water treatment, or anything else. You have them on there. So let's have a look at this video. I just want to show you very quickly, and then you can entertain a little bit. Yes, click here.
Vietnam's economy was one of the best performing in Southeast Asia this year, with the GDP growing at the fastest pace in 25 years.
Vietnam's economy jumped by 8% this year.
The research firm expects the Philippine economy, along with Vietnam, to grow fastest among Southeast Asian economies in 2023.
As the world's economy continues to shift, Vietnam has emerged as a key player in Asia's economic growth story. Over the past 2 decades, this Southeast Asian nation has undergone an incredible transformation from a war-torn country to a thriving economic powerhouse. With a population of nearly 100 million people and a rapidly expanding middle class, Vietnam is poised to become one of the most dynamic economies in the region. The IMF has recently revised Vietnam's economic growth prediction for 2022 and has increased it from 6 to 7%. This was the only big upward adjustment among Asian countries, and it was far greater than revisions for other important regional economies, including India, Japan, and China, which decreased by between 0.7 and 1.1%. In a similar way, the World Bank increased its forecast for Vietnam's economic growth from 5.3% to 7.2%, which is the highest rate for any East or Southeast Asian country. While this came as a shock to many, anybody keeping up with the economy of Vietnam over the last several decades would have seen it coming. Vietnam has gone from having one of the world's lowest economies to having one of the fastest expanding ones, with the help of the escalating great power conflict between China and the United States. When the United States withdrew its
So that's the past. Forget about the past, right? Now we are in the moment with the present, and then with the relationship, wonderful relationship between US and Vietnam that I will share later. So this is the history about Vietnam Semiconductor. You may be surprised that Vietnam also started the research of semiconductors since 1962, when I was not born yet. So you see the timeline. So they started back in the old days, and then they even set up their first factories to export semiconductor to the Eastern Europe in 1979. Unfortunately, the factory had to shut down after that, maybe because of different regions, and it's not easy to commercialize any kind of chips, only the potato chips can be commercialized, right? Not the semiconductor back then. So in 1990s, Vietnam shut down the factory, but recently these are two most exciting and pretty proud for the Vietnamese government and Vietnamese people in Vietnam, because they are the two local brands who are able to manufacture chip, Viettel and FPT. So it is called they are proud to call made in Vietnam chip. And I was proud also because I also named my teenager Annie Chip. So it's like I can claim that I also have a made in Vietnam chip, right? This is all the companies, I'm sorry, not all, but most of the companies who are operating in Vietnam. Not to mention Samsung. Samsung is one by far still one of the biggest company. And when they came into Vietnam, for sure that the supply chain management company and other subcontractors follow the big shock. So they set up the hub there. So from Ho Chi Minh City, the south of Vietnam, Da Nang in the center, and Hanoi in the north. Hanoi is the capital of Vietnam. So these are some interesting information about Vietnam too. So Vietnam ranked number 3 largest Asian exporter of semiconductor to the United States, following Malaysia and Taiwan. And interestingly, a lot of employees who are working in Malaysian factories are actually coming from Vietnam. So do you recognize this gentleman? I'm sure that you know him. He's the president and CEO of Semi Industry Association of the United States, John, and the Minister of Ministry of Planning and Investment of Vietnam. They were both in Vietnam last year when Vietnam opened the National Innovation Center, and they also host a lot of semiconductor readiness seminar to collect the opinions and to get ready to ramp up for the investment in this industry. So from the perspective of consulting company, we will also tell you about the challenge and about some obstacle and hindrance. But because today I don't want to do that, and I want to quote the official opinion that Vietnamese government is trying to call for investment. So 5 reasons why the investors should consider Vietnam as a destination for semiconductor manufacturing or even just R&D or packaging. First, political stability. So you can see that Vietnam has one party, so everything pretty stable. You don't need to change the policy after the election. So the policy or the incentives is stabilized and continue, not like when we change the government administration and we have new policy. No, so it may not happen in Vietnam. Second, you see the geographical location. We talk about a lot about geopolitical location, and for sure, Vietnam lies in the strategic location. That's why it has been attract the attention from foreign countries, even from France or from other countries around the world for many decades. Number 3, in terms of investment incentives, the Vietnamese government is offering the highest level in terms of tax, land clearance, and other supporting policy. And number 4, Vietnam is a populous country with the current population of over 100 million people, and the golden age, the population is in the golden age. So Vietnam has the young and vibrant, hardworking, technological, tech savvy, you name it. So that it's easy for any investor to find the employees there. And the last thing is their technological or digital infrastructure is ramping up. This is the recommendation of the Boston Consulting Company when they give Vietnam some recommendation how to focus in developing the infrastructure to attract more investor into the semiconductor industries. And they conclude that this is right time to capture opportunity for Vietnam. So this is also the right time, the golden time for investor when you eye on Vietnam's market. Don't go too early, don't go too late, right? So what's challenge that Vietnam face? And in this challenge slide, for example, you can, as an investor, you can turn the challenge into the opportunities. So you fill in the blank, right? So Vietnam, like a comprehensive ecosystem, they don't really have a lot of design firm or testing facility, research institute. So as an investor, you can look at Vietnam to collaborate with the local counterparts to tackle this challenge. And for example, another challenge is intense regional competition. Of course, Vietnam has to compete, or me personally, today I have to compete. No, I don't like to use the word compete. I like to use the word collaborate, right? So supply chain is a chain. So we cannot ship the whole chain to US. Frankly, it's very expensive, especially in the semiconductor. So how we can collaborate in different chains to connect the knot. So human resource challenge, of course, because Vietnam is populous, but in terms of language, in terms of technical background, they still need help. So there are more opportunities for American or any foreign companies, institutional in education can think of. So what is Vietnam preparing right now? I'm not going to go into details, but 3 things that I want you to remember. First, in terms of incentive, they offer the highest incentive in terms of tax, land, and other supporting policy. In terms of infrastructure, they do care about renewable energy because this is one of the conditions that the American groups of semiconductor investor make requests. They promise that they can invest up to 9 or 10 billion US dollar, but in vice versa, Vietnam needs to develop renewable energies and truly Vietnam is working on that. And also the target to train 50,000 skilled workers by 2030. So in order for them to realize this goal, they're going to need help from their foreign companies. And the relationship, like I mentioned, between US and Vietnam is now at the top level. So last year, US and Vietnam decided to upgrade the relationship, the partnership to strategic comprehensive partnership. So only 5 countries currently that Vietnam have that high level relationship partnership, and other levels like strategic partnership or comprehensive partnerships here. So the first pictures when former President Clinton normalized the relation between US and Vietnam. And the second pictures was when President Biden came to Vietnam and they decided to upgrade the relationship, the partnership. These are some of the activities that right here. So Jeff, he was here. He represent the Arizona State University when he attended the seminar last year, and they signed an MOU with the NIC director, and these are another MOU and many more I cannot show here. And how about Vietnam, US, and we are in Arizona? So there should be some connection. So it dates back in the Vietnam War where former Senator of Arizona, John McCain, was captured as a prisoner of war there. But after that, he was the one who's really promote the relationship between Vietnam and US. And in Hanoi, this is the only memorial of former Senator John McCain around the world. And when President Biden came there, he also visited the memorial. And this is another Arizona-based semiconductor corporation who have decided to set up $1.6 billion in Vietnam, Amcor. So these are something regarding to the CHIP Act. The Arizona University, State University also received some funds, and then they're gonna collaborate with Vietnam because they also have been in Vietnam for over 20 years. So this is the final thought that I would like to send to you. Vietnam, a promising destination for global semiconductor industry. And with that said, thank you so much for your attention. My email is here and I will be around. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And once again, thank you to the online audience. Thank you for your patience and welcome to Vietnam. I already introduced Ms. Van Lê from Washington, D.C. and Mr. Thuần Nguyen from Houston, Texas. So thank you for reminding. Yes, thank you. All right. Yes.
Thank you very much. We also, the Asia Pacific Economic Collaboration, we did an event in San Francisco at Global Chamber San Francisco with the Vietnamese government back in October. That was outstanding. Let's now shift to the Philippines. So Dan Lachico is the president of the Philippines Semiconductor Association. And Dan, thank you for your patience. We're almost to the end for everybody. Thank you for your perseverance and everyone online. Thank you. Dan, are you there? And we're looking forward to hearing more about the Philippines in the semiconductor industry.
Hi, Doug. Yes, good morning or good afternoon to your audience. I won't keep you long. I know I'm the one keeping you from dinner, so sure. I'll make it quick. This is actually a homecoming for me in a way. I lived in Scottsdale when I was working for Motorola in Mesa. So good to see all the people there. So I'll start. I'll talk about the Philippine semiconductor electronics industry. Next page, please. Okay. Our association has 364 multinational Filipino-owned semiconductor companies in various sectors. They include the manufacturing firms, suppliers, all allied and support industry members, and academic institutions. Next. Okay, so this is the breakdown, the profile of our sectors, as I mentioned earlier. Semiconductor and other components, you will see a bunch of American, US multinational companies, and all the way from EPP and renewable energy, which includes SunPower, now known as Maxion. Our association actually has an international reach. We've got 13 international associations, I guess 3 or 4 in the United States, including the Semiconductor Industry Association. And this is across 5 countries. As I mentioned earlier, we have several sectors. 70% come from components and devices. This would be the assembly, test, and packaging. And 30% come from EMS. Actually, 13% of our exports, which totaled about $49 billion last year, 13% of that goes to the United States. Next. In terms of our industry performance, this last year was $45.64 billion, and we account for 13.41% of the country's GDP and close to 10% of our gross value added. We have over 3 million direct and indirect workers benefiting the industry. Next page. So this just shows you the supply chain that we have in the industry, all the way from IC design, the biggest of which is analog devices, to system and products. As you can see, the slots 2 and 3 are not quite present. In other words, we don't have semiconductor wafer fabrication facilities yet. I spent 16 years in Silicon Valley, and when I came back to the Philippines as an expat managing director of an American company, I said at that time, we're not ready for that. But again, given the global conditions, I think it's ripe for us to, albeit late, to start on semiconductor wafer fab manufacturing. And the reason for that is, you will see in the footnote, we have IC design companies, but we're dependent really on major foundries like in Taiwan. Of course, analog devices has its own fab, so we don't have an issue with that. But for the local design companies, we would need that capability. So those are opportunities that, for investors, we're actually looking for. In fact, Secretary Raimondo will be leading a business delegation on March 5 and 6, and this is one of the topics that we're going to be talking to her about, the Philippine government talking to the US government, and through the CHIPS Act, hopefully convince several of our US multinationals doing assembly, test, and packaging, and even IC design to start up a wafer fab in the Philippines. Next. This just shows you our a snapshot of our product and technology holistic strategy, which essentially is the industry roadmap. Although this will be updated when we talk to John Lufer. When the president of the Philippines, we were there November 15 in San Francisco on the sidelines of APEC, and John suggested that we update this, which is the right advice considering that a lot of things, emerging technologies, post-pandemic developments. But what you'll see here really is on the first column, moving up, expanding our IC design operations, and that would be the semiconductor space. And the rest, we will beef up the research and development across all the EMS sectors. From a global supply standpoint, we account for close to 10% of the semiconductor supply in the world, and only about 3% for the EMS. So there's a lot of growth potential there. Next page. I mentioned earlier that our aspiration is to do start up our wafer fab presence in the Philippines, beginning with the lab scale wafer fab to grow the talent. This is supported by the government. And then eventually, as I mentioned earlier, hopefully a commercial scale wafer fab. This is in the midst of growing our ATP and moving up also in technology, since obviously with the CHIPS Act, you're going to see a lot of growth in advanced semiconductor wafer manufacturing, and hopefully being strong in assembly, test, and packaging. We're looking forward to having those, supporting those fab growth in the United States. Next. And just to give you an idea, we're one of the, well, I guess top 3 in terms of GDP growth in Asia, 5.9% year on year as of the third quarter of 2023. We expect to finish strong in 2024 also, and PMI was at 51.5 as of December 2023. And last January, we actually had a delegation. Next page. We sent a big delegation to the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, and essentially to introduce the Philippines as the best provider of electronic product and services, developing new business leads and exchanging technology, and also promote our capabilities. You know, we're like no more than 4 hours plane travel from the major cities in Asia. We've got about a very young, smart, English speaking workforce, average age of about 24 going on 25 years. And you get the most value for the bank, so to speak. The operators, about $9 per day. Engineers, you can start upwards of $20, upwards of that, of course, as the experience grows. So very good destination for your investments and expansion, especially in IC design and R&D activities. Then the last page would be, I think that's our last page. And as you see, expats like living in the Philippines for all the features for R&R that you see there. And that's all I have. And if you have any questions, be happy to answer them. Thank you very much for your attention. Doug, back to you.
Thank you, Dan. And you mentioned about expats. Actually, Global Chamber Manila is run by Colin Christie, who had built and then sold a business here in Arizona and believed in the Philippines, believed in the BPO industry. He's probably the world's expert on the BPO industry of the Philippines. And he, quote unquote, retired. Let me qualify that. What it meant was he got married. He has 2 children, and he's our executive director for Global Chamber Manila. So he's very busy, to say the least. So thank you, Dan, for sharing that view. We're just about there. Only one more country and only a few more people and just a few more minutes. It's fitting that Japan goes last because this Semicon conference was started by our interaction with the fellow that Dean Kagro mentioned yesterday. It feels like yesterday that he started this conference, but it was only about 3+ hours ago. And he mentioned a fellow named Brian Swords, who is and has been the main liaison between the consulate in LA and the region, mostly in Southern California. He has been a leader. Brian has been in Southern California, and part of that interaction has been interaction with Global Chamber over the years. So we started this conference with a focus on Japan, and over the last couple of years, it's expanded to other countries. And next year, we actually have the 4th one planned. It's February 21st of 2025. Put it on your calendar. It's actually on the Global Chamber calendar. And the reason we time it on a Friday and the reason why this is today is the Matsuri. So the Phoenix has one of the largest Matsuris in the US, the festival, Japanese festival. I think it's the 2nd largest, but I'm going to have Kelly Moore come up. Kelly, could you come up? And Kyoko, could you come up? And Derek, could you come up? So we have 3 speakers who are going to share some things about Japan. Kelly is the honorary consul for Japan, and he has the very distinct honor. Very few people have received this, but he's received the award from the Japanese government for non-Japanese that have contributed to the Japan being integrated into another culture. And Kelly, having lived in Japan, having married a Japanese, worked for decades to build the Japanese American school here, and for many decades built the Matsuri up to become one of the top Matsuris in the US. Kelly is always very busy on this day because tomorrow it starts. I hope you can attend. Could you say a few words about the Matsuri and anything else you'd like to share?
Of course. We need some help setting up tables. Any volunteers? Oh, let me see. I brought my Matsuri shirt as well. And so not only is Phoenix kind of a center for industry and technology, high tech, but it also has a lot of cultural aspects going on. And one of them is the Matsuri, and you made a mistake, one of the largest. The largest. Yeah. So last year, I think if you believe the numbers, I actually don't believe it, but about 100,000 people came. And just to give a little advertisement for tomorrow and Sunday, it's at Indian School Park, and that's 3rd Street and Indian School, or Central and Indian School. And there are vendors, there are merchandise vendors, and it's all Japan related. We try to keep it completely Japanese. So merchandise, food, exhibitors, that means schools and educational institutions, and just sort of cultural displays. There will be kimonos, there's origami, so anything, if you think about Japan, it should be there tomorrow. And so Indian School, 3rd Street, Indian School, Camelback. Parking's a mess, probably the first to admit it. Across the street is a parking garage that apparently provides ready access. So you just park there on the south side of Indian School and walk on over. Anyway, Matsuri tomorrow, we'll see. Oh, I want just a little bit of history. This is our 40th year. 40. Yeah. So we started in 1984, and it was a kind of a deal. It was with ASU. They had a semester long study of Japan, and they wrapped up with a festival of Japan, and I participated in it. I was on their advisory board. And I remember we held folding chairs and card tables from home and set up our information, and we got about 6,000 people. And we thought, well, what's this all about? So we started, someone said, let's do it the next year. And we did it. And within a couple of years, we were up to 20 and 30,000 people. And as I say, last year, about 100,000. So anyway, Matsuri tomorrow, be there, be square. Okay.
So I'd like to have Derek go next. So Derek Abeg is actually coming in from Michigan, but his company, WeConnect, is based in Japan. And they've been a longtime member of Global Chamber. They help companies set up in Japan more broadly, meaning that when companies do business in multiple countries, especially around currency, it's it's tough to understand what's really going on. And WeConnect has figured out how to do that for companies that are in multiple countries. So thank you for your leadership. And you wanted to mention, and I want you to mention a little bit more about WeConnect and setting up in Japan, particularly because it was kind of alluded to. I'm not sure that the Kyushu facility for TSMC is actually operational yet, but they've announced that they're going to be setting up in Kumamoto, which is, for me, one of the most famous, enjoyable places to visit because it's very famous for basashi. And I won't explain any further about what that is because I don't want to distract you from the conversation that Derek's going to share. He's got a couple minutes. Thanks, Derek.
Well, thank you, Doug, and appreciate you inviting us to present. So I am from Michigan. I am not necessarily a Japan expert. My role here in the U.S. is to support all of our clients for our global services. Japan is our roots, as Doug alluded to. That's where our headquarters is, where our founders live and work, and it's where the majority of our clients enter into. And we provide the least interesting solution in global operations, but everyone needs it in its compliance, accounting, and tax and payroll services. So we provide that administrative and back office elements so that clients do not need to focus on that as part of their brain drain. And often for US companies in particular, who I speak to all the time about this, they run pretty lean management teams, and it can often be a distraction when trying to operate subsidiaries around the world and try to incorporate that into their broader operations. So we try to solve that by having services that lean into our clients' policies with the right resources that are flexibly deployed. So that they can operate subsidiaries in multiple countries. So Japan specifically, and connecting that to the semiconductor industry, we support many different clients. Our team has helped over 2,000 companies enter Japan and operate in Japan compliantly for over a decade. And some of those companies are semiconductor companies, as well as semiconductor-related industries as well. So TSMC, I believe their grand opening's tomorrow, Doug, as far as production being starting in the next few weeks. They just announced a second plant in a different location as well, another $20 billion investment. And semiconductors are a key industry, as we've seen for the Japan government, as well as many other governments, not just in Asia or the US, but also in Europe. As you can see, TSMC really increasing their footprint related to foundry capacity. So Japan, it may be a little bit different than some of the other markets, maybe more of an old head. Legacy manufacturing was around when semiconductors originated as a technology, and they, of course, in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, Japan was the primary hardware manufacturer in the world. Of course, they are not anymore, but given the specific climate that we're in now, that diversification, utilizing that advanced talent, which is deep in expertise, deep in depth, is really important, and one of the reasons why it makes sense to invest in the Japan market for both foundries, fabs, and ancillary services. I think one of the other things that makes Japan interesting now, it is one of the most challenging markets in the world to enter and operate successfully. One of the challenges in Japan is it has an aging workforce and also a declining population. So they have been looking at increasing or loosening immigration policies, supporting startups and foreign investment in a much greater fashion. So if there's an opportunity to do a entry into Japan, now is a great time. The currency is also at its lowest, yen compared to the dollar. So money goes a lot further than it did 6 years ago. So it is very dynamic in how the Japan government and the market needs to adapt for these types of high technology industries that are growing really, really fast. The necessary capacity that's needed to grow in the next 10 years in that category is very important around the world, as we've heard today. And one of the things that's, I think, really important, just a quick story of one of our semiconductor clients was trying to acquire a Panasonic plant that manufactured chips. And one of the things about Japan is there's lifetime employment, and employees are very valued there. And it can be very different in how to manage Japan culturally. So one of the stipulations, they agreed on a purchase price, about $100 million, and the American company basically was like, "Hey, this is the purchase price." The Japanese company said, "Hey, we agree to everything. We just don't want you to fire anybody. We don't want you to terminate anybody. If you can agree that you will not change the workforce unduly, then we agree to your purchase price." Well, the American company said, "Okay, we understand that you're maybe negotiating here. How about we increase the purchase price? And that will solve the problem." And the Japanese company was, "No, we would like you to just agree to this statement that you're not going to change the workforce." American company increased their offer more, thinking that might solve the problem, and added a stipulation. And for 2 years, we will not change the workforce. Japanese company said, "No, we just want you to agree that you're not going to change the workforce." Eventually, that actually ended up changing the economics because it took so long to try to get to this stage, and the deal and the opportunity was no longer viable. So just from a cultural perspective on negotiations like that, it's important to understand that you have to operate and lean into the local style. And that's one of the things about Japan that is interesting for our company and helping so many companies enter the market, is you have to find the right paths to provide what makes sense for a foreign company entering into a market that is very different in how things operate. Just little things like opening a bank account can be vastly more difficult in a market. And so we at WeConnect try to make that as simple as possible. So I'll end it there because we're running pretty short on time, but I appreciate the opportunity, and we're very happy to be members and supportive of the Global Chamber.
Thank you. Gian, I think you can change to the last slide, and we're just one more state. Oh no, there should be just with it says thank you on it. Well, that's a bummer. Oh, that's too bad. Okay. Well, we had a really nice slide that had the next year's date of February 21st of 2024. So yeah, we maybe just freeze that one and we'll just kind of go from there. Somehow we lost the final slide. So thank you for your perseverance in through all of this. This year, February 23rd, next year, February 21st. And one of the things that we started last year, actually the last couple of years, was having a reception at the Japanese Garden here in Phoenix. It's an extraordinary location. This year, it didn't quite work out. We couldn't quite get the Japanese government to agree to kind of what we were hoping to get done again this year. Hopefully next year. I understand there's a rotation of folks in the LA office, and hopefully the new folks will see it more our way, because the Japanese Garden here in Phoenix is amazing. You know, one of the reasons why it's amazing is its longevity and its connectivity to Himeji, Japan, and the Sister Cities program by the city of Phoenix. There's a long time connection between Phoenix and Himeji through that. And the garden here has been designed by a landscape architect from Himeji, and they come over periodically to get this to work. It's sitting on top of I-10, the park, including the lake, which at some point leaked into the I-10, you know, which now that's all fixed. But it's an extraordinary place. And hopefully next year, fingers crossed, we'll have the reception rather than where it is today, downtown Phoenix. It'll be at the garden. And we're very fortunate to have the second Kyoko, the first Kyoko being Kyoko Toyama, who was head of the garden. And somehow Kyoko's not that normal of a name in Japanese, but her follower is Kyoko Goldheart. And so thank you, Kyoko, for sharing. Could you tell us a little bit more about the garden and close us out on a really high note?
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate the time, and I promise it will be 3 minutes for max. And it's a good thing that this didn't come up on the screen, because I want you to use your imagination. We didn't get our lovely slides in time, or the PowerPoint in time for the Japanese photos of the garden, but I want you to use your imagination that you're walking into the garden and you see this pillowy white flowery tree. It's a pear tree that's in bloom right now. And then in front of that, you'll see the blue pond with the colorful koi swimming in there, a couple of ducks wandering around. And in the back, there's a beautiful waterfall, and it's just trails down into a little stream into the pond. So that's what you'll see right there. And part of the Japanese Friendship Garden mission is the sharing of Japanese culture. And the understanding of Japanese or Asian culture, in our case, Japanese culture, is important in many ways. By sharing cultural events, workshops, and Japanese festivals, as Kelly mentioned, we are at the Japanese Friendship Garden, strive to educate and bring awareness of centuries-long traditions and the crafts of Japan. By sharing these Japanese cultures and exposing more people in Arizona to the wonderful traditions and people of Japan, we bring friendship. And by sharing Japanese culture, we bring understanding and acceptance. We then make friends that now understand other Asian cultures better, and it does make a difference in the interactions between people and businesses. The Japanese Friendship Garden will have many projects that are included in our next strategic plan. Because of the growth and popularity of our garden, the City of Phoenix Parks has recently awarded us with an extra strip of land on the north side of our garden. And Ben Schreff, our new executive director, has received pledges of many bonsai plants from the Phoenix Bonsai Society, and this area will become a showcase for these plants. So click, there's a beautiful bonsai plant on a handmade stone pedestal, and it's over 300 years old. That's sitting in front of our gift shop right now. The area that we have planned will include a walking path around these pedestal framed bonsai plants and a grassy area for corporate events, or I'm sorry, a non-grassy area for corporate events so that it won't affect the grass. We are in the installation of ambient lighting that began last month, and evening events and longer hours can be easily added. The new area will be designed and teamed by our head garden curator, Ben Schreff, who's also our executive director now. And as Doug mentioned, Mr. Okita, who designed the original garden many years ago, his company will partner with him in this design. This man, Mr. Okita, is very well known and respected in Japan, and he takes great pride in this garden that he designed many, many years ago, and always brags about this garden in the desert in the United States. I've often heard of him referred to as the Frank Lloyd Wright of Japanese gardens. He's that impressive and famous. So whoever sponsors this completion of the bonsai area will have naming rights as well as corporate privileges, event privileges. There's also a small viewing event pavilion in our future. Award-winning architect Hisao Tendo has already agreed to design it. He designed our restroom, which is an award-winning building made with very few nails. It's the tongue and groove Japanese way of building buildings. This building will allow us to have year-round cultural events, not dictated by the weather. And it's very hot here in the summer, so it would be very nice to have things year-round. This Japanese style pavilion will also showcase the history of the Japanese garden and our association with our sister garden of 5 years, Rohoan, located at the base of the Himeji Castle. We plan on displaying information inside the Japanese pavilion to explain how the Phoenix Sister City organization and our sister city of Himeji, Japan, and the Himeji government officials played such a major part in making our garden possible. Whoever sponsors this structure will also have naming rights, whether it's a corporation or a legacy. Naming rights will also have corporate privileges for this. 2022, the Japanese Friendship Garden celebrated a 20th anniversary. Our gross revenue and attendance have increased every year and has more than tripled in the past 5 years. We are financially sound and we're popular and growing nonprofit, but for these large improvements, we do need financial partners. Many other improvements, both large and small, are planned for the garden. If you or someone that you know is interested, please let me know. Arigatou gozaimashita.
それで疲れました。Thank you very much. And really, thank you to all the speakers. Thank you, all three of you. Thank you to all the presenters. Thank you here in the audience. Thank you around the world for hanging in there. This was a 3-hour program that turned into 3.5 hours. You know, fortunately, the reception here in person is in 45 minutes, so we have enough time to get to it. Through your perseverance and through your efforts and through your patience, we really appreciate what you're doing. Our goal is to be everywhere in the world and to support people to understand that, hey, these are opportunities for you to grow, and there's more choices in terms of countries and locations and how to hire people and how to bank and how to what legal support you need. You know, why not, if you're looking for the US, have your facilities in Chihuahua and save money? It's all possible. 30, 40, 50 years ago, that was really not practical. Things like that are very practical today. So congratulations on hanging in there today, but hanging in there with your business, because it's never been this important to be part of the global tribe, to be part of global business. There are forces, as several have alluded to, and that's how Dr. Kagram started. There are forces in the world that are trying to tear us apart. That's always occurred. But trade brings us together. It allows us to talk to each other. It allows us to mediate and negotiate with each other and understand that we're all the same person. We're the human race. And this whole thing where sometimes we raise flags above our heads and think that we're different, we're not. We're the same. And those of us in the global tribe recognize that. And we need to keep speaking out. We need to keep doing something. We need to keep trading. We need to block the folks that are creating corruption and disruption in the world. So everything you're doing is a good thing. Keep it up. Be perseverant and recognize we are going to win this thing, meaning against those forces, but we need everybody to step up and stand up and speak to your neighbors, speak to whoever will listen, that this global thing, it's really important. And thank you for speaking out about not just the mayor, but the importance of how people from different countries and different cultures can work together. It's critically important at this time. Thanks, everybody.